All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to an afternoon show. I don't do a lot of Sunday shows lately because I'm usually out of town on a weekend, but it's been kind of strange these last couple of weeks. People have been coming in from out of town, been visiting with relatives, so my usual inconsistent posting has become even more inconsistent and less frequent. So apologies for that. And I'm also in the process of moving. I'm actually sitting in. This may be the last broadcast from this apartment. So that's sad and kind of exciting. I'm moving to a much bigger place, so that's going to be fun. But yeah, I'm sitting amongst boxes and shit. But anyway, joining me for this review today is Grr Mania, who has a YouTube channel. The one thing I forgot to do is like actually pin, kind of like highlight in there in the description. I'll fix that so that your channel, Grr, has a
Well,
link in
it's
it.
probably best that you don't anyway.
Is there
At least not the streaming channel.
Yeah, maybe. Is there anything that you want to say to get started off?
Well, I will say this: when we talked about doing this stream maybe a week ago, I told Jeff, I said, "Listen, I would love to come to your channel, but please let's not do Darth Dawkins." And then for some stupid reason, I said, "Yeah, you know what? Let's review Darth Dawkins."
Review Darth. I was surprised you did that because I was like, well, I
I
mean,
was too. I was regretting it 5 minutes ago as I was getting backstage. I was like,
oh,
"Oh, why did I agree to do this?"
yeah, now you got to listen to his voice.
uh,
Uh,
but I'm ready.
so this one is also kind of I mean, the only context to this is actually in Tom Rabbitt's description. He's talking to a guy that Darth is talking to a guy that he talked to 3 years ago. So back in 2020, and he's got some I don't know, comments or whatever. I'm going to read those at the very beginning, and then
Oh
for
yeah.
context, kind of like a little bit of their back and forth, because Darth went on this guy's show. And I think they talked for like the better part of 3 hours or something like that.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I think that's how long you said or maybe it was only 45 minutes, but it was like I think he came back into like it was they spent a lot of time with him, and then they finally just were like, no.
Anyone who talks to Darth Dawkins for 3 hours, they must have some sort of like self-hate for themselves or something.
Yeah, and I think it was the first time, so I think part of it was just like trying to figure out like, is this guy for real? But usually that only takes about 15 minutes.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. Maybe Darth was more medicated back then and he was more patient, but like, yeah, they didn't kick him and he just held on like he wasn't going to leave. So anyway, now flash forward and I guess they run across each other either on Discord or Clubhouse. I think this is from Discord. I'm pretty sure it's from a Discord group. I think it's the one that Mr. Batman runs, which if anybody knows who Mr. Batman
Oh,
is, he is an absolute psychopath. And I'm
he,
not saying that as a pejorative to psychopaths. I mean, I think he actually is clinically insane. He's just not
yeah.
being treated.
I had one conversation with Mr. Batman, and I think it was for about 5 minutes before I kicked him out of the room because the guy is, yeah, I think he might be insane. If
Yeah,
he's not insane, he definitely looks and sounds like he is.
yeah.
But
I,
yeah.
I heard him going off on a conversation about like I can't even remember what it was. He was talking about dogs and his wife's sexual orientation or his daughter's sexual orientation, and just it
Oh
was
God.
just absolutely insane. I'm like, what kind of like trailer trash psycho am I listening to here? This guy's just he sounded like one of my, like a distant relative. I got some relatives that got some interesting views. Um, but yeah, so anyway, yeah, this is just Darth talking to the guy's name is Atheist Reformation, and I don't know if he still has a YouTube channel or he's just like kind of devoting his time to hanging out in Discord groups, but that's where we're stuck with. So we'll get that up, and yeah, anything else, Ger, you want to put out there?
No, I am so excited to listening to Nails on a Chalkboard by
Can't
listening to
believe
Darth Dawkins.
I can't believe we're doing this. It's so stupid. All right, here we go.
Darth Dawkins is the kind of guy that would put a screen door on a submarine. I'm positive.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. He would do it despite the atheists, like,
Yes, just to own the atheist. The atheist libs.
Henry Hansen says, wasn't Mr. Batman gay at one time? He has a bunch of stories about his orientation, and none of them have ever made any sense to me, your guess is as good as mine, Henry. I have no idea. Because people have even been like, wait, do you understand how orientation, like at one point you were attracted to men and now you're not? And I don't know if he ever gave a straight answer to that. I think that was the last time I heard that conversation, and that was many years ago.
And that's ironic. He didn't give a straight answer to the gay question.
Yeah, I don't even think he can really defend it. The one thing I know, the first time I ever ran across him, I think it was the first time I ran across him, he was having a discussion where he was discussing how there needed to be essentially a final solution for the LGBTQ community. That's why a Christian nation was necessary.
Okay.
And I was like, and he was in with a few other people, and they were basically, other quote unquote Christians, and they were all kind of like nodding along, like, amen, brother. Amen.
Actually, yes, I actually have a video on my channel that does highlight some of his commentary, because I asked a question. I can't remember what the question was, but it had something to do with the LGBTQ, and his answer sounded like, if this guy, like he sounds just like a Christian nationalist, wants to get in government and enforce Christian morality, which would exclude and oppress anyone who's not cis and straight.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. They need to. They either need to get cured or convert or face the consequences. And
Yeah.
I think anyone listening can understand what those consequences ultimately would be.
Right.
Yeah. He's sick. But unfortunately, given the way some Christian groups go in this country, not that extreme. I mean, he's not really he's not really coloring out too far outside the lines for some of those guys. He's just saying a lot of quiet parts out loud. Yeah. All right, so here we go. So this, date January 19th of 2020. Here we go.
Hey, Tom Rabbittt.
So here's him. This is Evolution False. He was doing this. So, and I think this is in a response to the YouTube. This is in the comments. In an atheist perspective, good and bad are illusory, just molecules in motion, but it's worse because you monism results in no intelligibility. Atheists say evidence this, evidence that. However, in order to invoke evidence requires a worldview, but you don't have one. That's incorrect, even from Darth's perspective. That's just him trying to bait people. Like, that doesn't track even with precept. Everybody has a worldview. The goal is to show the atheists that their worldview is a Christian one, not to tell them they don't have one. That's just a classic blunder, and he's doing it in print. Invite me on. Super thirsty. The genetic code is not a binary code as in computers, nor an 8-level code as in some telephone systems, but a quaternary code with 4 symbols. I don't go. Good God.
Hey, I hope you got this for you.
The machine code of the genes is uncannily computer-like. Quote from Richard Dawkins. Invite me on. Invite me on, and I will explain the issue of intelligibility. Invite me on. Invite me on.
You know, he did this to me one time when I first started to stream, as opposed to just do video essays. I was streaming and I saw him in the backstage, and I said, Darth Dawkins, I see you backstage, but at this point I had already watched a lot of his debates, which were more like interrogations. And I said, no, I know it's not going to be a good conversation. You're just going to overtalk. You're just going to interrupt and insult me. So good day.
Yeah.
And then he said, you get a lot of views. Again, this is in the private chat. And I was thinking, I don't care. In hindsight, because this was about a year and a half ago, I thought, okay, I should have taken him on so I could get more views.
It would, because it would have gotten picked up. Tom Rabbittt probably would have edited a video of it.
I know. In hindsight, that was dumb. But I don't regret it.
No. Either way. Back without a system. You were just dodging because you're afraid. You asked me for my definition. Invite me on. I gave you my definition. Now you're quibbling. Yes, you did. You did ask me.
All right,
yes, you did. I did define my. Look at this.
He is thirsty.
Oh
my thirsty God. Boy.
He's really thirsty. Yeah, I don't, and that's interesting to me. Like, I don't know what these guys were doing that got him that. Like, he must have been really lonely.
So we're gonna come over. I'm gonna add into the stream. All right, so Mr. Evolution False, you got any kind of other name we can call you by, because it's kind of a goofy one?
You can call me Duncan.
Duncan? Okay, Duncan.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. I'm not a troll. Okay, my point is
that.
That's a red flag from the
Yeah.
get-go. I am not a troll.
I promise I'm not a troll. Really?
Invite me on. I'm not a troll. Invite me on.
Jay, invite me on. Invite me on.
That's Midnight Starfall. He does the same thing. Invite me on. Give me the link. Give me the link. Let
Give
me
me that
in.
link. Do it now. I like it when he does. He'll do that. He'll like remind you multiple times in there, and then when he shows up, he acts like he's like yawning, like, oh yeah, like he just casually walked in.
Right.
I was
He's
like,
jumping
come
up
on.
and down.
Yeah, he's like, do it. Give me the link. Give me the link. Give me the link. Oh, hey, what's going on over here? Like,
Yeah,
come on, Midnight.
It's just like in those romantic comedies where the guy gets the girl's number and he's jumping up and down. He's so excited, and then he realizes that she's looking at him, and he goes, yeah, I'll call you later. Same concept.
Pushing the hair back. Excuse me.
Hour later.
You're just inserting a deity. That's
No, Drew. We're examining your worldview.
Your worldview is still up for examination.
Okay, what's your? That's fine. I'll be glad to defend my worldview, but right now I entered this video chat in the text saying that your worldview cannot provide for the intelligibility of science. In order for science to be meaningful and understandable, okay, and here we go again. You're going to the same canard again. I dropped the word intelligible because you want to play that little definitional game.
And at this point, we've gone on for now 4 hours.
God.
4 hours.
Christ.
Holy shit.
Give this man a medal. Wow.
Yeah. I don't know how he did it.
That's impressive.
The Atheist Reformation at Gmail, folks. See if he's got I don't know if he's got, I don't think Tom doesn't have a link in here for his channel. I kind of wonder if he's still around. I'm going to play this and take a look.
With this rabbit hole where he just asked the same question in a circle without making any sense. So I'm beyond bored with this.
One I'd like to contribute.
Yeah, go for it. And then I'm wrapping the show up. It's like he's asking all these nonsensical questions.
The Atheist Reformation might come in.
I want the fallen one.
Okay, so now, flash forward to 3 years later, to modern day.
3 years later.
Darth is still talking to Atheist Reformation every time he's in the shower. Like, son of a bitch.
I should have said that.
And now they're somewhere over on Discord. The Atheist Reformation actually the channel is still up, but it doesn't look like anything's happened in 3 years. So
Darth broke him.
That's what I'm thinking. This guy got so bored with Darth that he got bored with his whole channel. He just quit doing it. Like, there's no point. 4 hours of talking to this pre-sup.
I'm out. I'm done.
And he's done. But now he's back, and for whatever reason they're bouncing around in here, and he's looking for Darth, or at least word's gotten around. So here we go.
I never drink coffee.
They said, as my name would imply, I'm happy to take him on. So I said, please join us.
What's that?
The Atheist Reformation.
The Atheist Reformation?
Yeah.
Is that a server?
That's their name, username.
Oh, Atheist Reformation. That's a username. Oh, okay, good.
I would think. Okay, I'm just going to put this out there. If I had a conversation with somebody, I mean, again, I'm not terminally online, and Darth was at least, I mean, I think he still kind of is, but he was terminally online 3 years ago. He was definitely on more then. So I think that's probably why it's easy for him to forget. Like, if I had a conversation that got that contentious and it lasted for 4 hours, I would remember that username.
Well, it's funny because I actually had similar thoughts, because Darth is like, is that a username? What is that? But deep inside, he's like, oh my God, my arch nemesis is back. Finally. He's really all giddy and excited, but he's trying to play it cool, as we mentioned earlier.
Kleenex, lotion, pants down. All right.
Let's go. Put the lotion in the basket.
Poor prepared. Yeah, you can already hear him getting a little bit too messing over this. Like, oh, is it him? No,
He has risen.
I mean, but I wouldn't really put it past him if he'd forgotten, because he's had these like, and the crazy thing is, like, normally this would happen if, people get drunk and do stuff, and have long conversations, rambling conversations in the middle of the night on Discord stuff. You forget who you talk to. You forget their, you might forget the sound of their voice, especially if it's not really distinct or they had bad mic quality, or you just forget their username, whatever. You just had this kind of, but like, I mean, I can still kind of recall people that I've had long conversations with, just because they weren't that common. But with Darth, I don't know how often then, 3 years ago, he was having 4-hour conversation, and he was super thirsty. Like he was just plastering comments on there. I want in, invite me on.
He had the itch.
Atheist Reformation, who? Pinky to the lip.
He's like that person that walks down the street scratching themselves, saying, "Hey, you got any more of them atheists?" I need another atheist to talk to.
That's probably it. Yeah, Jay says essentially, you would because you actually communicate with people. Darth doesn't, because it was 4 hours of him talking at someone he doesn't care anything about.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yes.
Yeah, that's true. Maria McIntyre makes a good quote. She says, "I thought he took notes. He does. He does." But you know what? The thing was, I started noticing the notes about 2 years ago, a year and a half or 2 years ago. I started hearing about that. He's probably been doing it for a long time. But when he's discussing, like, if he's in his, I think he does the notes when he's in his Discord. He probably did it when he was on Clubhouse. He'd write the name down, and then he'd try to remember what they sound like, but he was horrible with voices, so he'd usually get that wrong. Because at one point he got into several conversations with King Xerxes and thought that was me. I'm like,
I'm on to you, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't sound like King Xerxes.
No,
like we don't have the same voice. I don't know why he thought we were the same. So, but yeah.
Do you think his notepad is just full of like smiley faces and frowny faces?
It's a unicorn shit in a rainbow or something. Yeah.
Right. He's got your name on his notepad, Jefferson Spatchcock, with a frowny smiley face.
It's just equals and then a line through it and then good. Jefferson Spatchcock doesn't equal good. Like, no, that's all I need to know. You're a troll. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Let him show up. Let him show up.
I because they said I'm happy to take them on, so I said please join us.
Excellent. Break out the popcorn, folks.
Let's see.
I hope you all have a good night, and I'll see you all in the
You too,
morning.
sweet
Okay?
pea.
Good night, sweet
Thank
pea.
you, Darth. Good night,
It
Han.
sounds so creepy.
Night.
Good night, sweet pea. I know that's her handle, but my God, it just sounds creepy. Good night, sweet pea. Good night.
It almost sounded a little, not threatening, but kind of like sarcastic. I don't know why he said it that way.
Yeah,
like,
maybe condescending or something.
Yeah, like he can't help but like drizzle in a little condescension when he's
even with saying good night.
Okay. just saying good night.
Well, send a notification. Send a notification to
Night, Hannah.
Atheist Reformation. Tell them I'm waiting here.
Oh, I just
Okay,
talked to Darth. How you doing, buddy?
Okay. Have we talked before?
Oh yeah, you called into my to a live show I was doing on my YouTube channel one time, and you got real pissed off because I kept muting you because you wouldn't let me introduce a point. But hey, you know.
Oh, that's a lie. That's not my MO. Okay, that's a typical lie.
That's totally
okay,
your MO.
so,
I mean, you can say it's a lie, but I've got the.
That's funny. Like
that wasn't me.
That couldn't have been me, because that's not how I behave. Like, we have you on video.
I never interrupt people and mute people. I never stop people when they're trying to get their points across, or when I ask them a question and they answer. I never stop them from answering. No, you got me confused with another Darth Dawkins.
Yeah, exactly. I miss Xerxes. I don't think JS likes his stance on things. His politics are gross. I'll give you that. Xerxes is a good counter apologist, though. He knows a lot about the Bible. He seems to have a decent handle on a lot of contemporary critical scholarship about the Bible. And so, yeah, he handles, like, if he's getting into discussions like that, there's very few people I think that can go toe to toe with him. But like I think his politics are kind of reactionary and sad.
Well, I will say, when I've heard him do counter apologetics, I've only listened to him a little bit. I thought he was good with counter apologetics, but then I did hear some of his political hot takes, and I thought, that's unfortunate, to say the least.
Yeah,
But
exactly. I still keep forgetting. I don't think I've done the video yet, but there is a video that Peter gonna go for it. He shared with me, and it's a conversation between Pine Creek and Xerxes.
oh yeah, I did see that one too, and I was like, oh, this
It is not good.
it
It's
is not
actually,
really
I think that
frustrating.
was the one I thought about covering with you, but I totally forgot about it because I'd kind of I had it pinned and I had it like saved for later, and I'm like, I want to cover that one because Xerxes kind of gish gallops while he's going through these different issues, and there's this
Yeah.
part where he's talking about like legal stuff with like the LGBTQ stuff, and I'm like, and he's just like really glossing over some like important points. I'm like, that's not how that worked.
Two ditto heads, Pine Creek
Yeah,
and
yeah.
King Xerxes.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah.
And you can, and yeah, right. Okay. Would you provide me with the link to that?
Yeah, sure.
Give me the link right now. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's typically what you people say. Okay.
Oh, you people. Okay. It's gonna be
Yeah.
fun.
You people. Yeah.
It's
Well,
gonna
in
be
my
fun.
12 years of uniform experience with atheists, there's a commonality of the way that they control themselves, especially when they have complete powers of moderation.
Oh, well, that entire conversation and entire video was unedited from start to finish.
I don't doubt that. Send me the link so I can go over that again. I'll be glad to. I'm going to do a review either here or somewhere else, according to your claims that I was
Do a review where? Since when does he do reviews?
I was actually going to ask you, does he do reviews? I've never seen Darth do any reviews.
Yeah, the only way I think that he would actually do something close to that is if he got into one, like if he still has an atheist helpline channel hosted on one of the Discord servers and he just decided like, hey, I'm going to play this in audio and then rip on it, maybe.
Right.
But yeah, he doesn't have his own, like he doesn't do like what we're doing. So yeah.
Do you know why he's not on YouTube? Because that's always confused me.
He did. He had a chance, and like people will poke at him and be like, "Hey, dude, if you could kind of keep yourself buttoned up just a little bit, you could probably have a pretty successful like little right wing Christian YouTube channel,
Yeah.
like an apologetics channel." He did. Apparently, many years ago, I think probably like 7 years ago, according to some people that remembered running into him back in the old Google Plus days, when he migrated over from yelling at kids on Xbox Live to, to Google Plus and getting into the great debate community on YouTube.
He leveled up.
Yeah. He I guess he did have a YouTube channel, and I think it got pulled twice.
That would not surprise me, given
Because
his
yeah.
opinions.
Yeah, because he couldn't control. He would do like, I don't know if he'd do reviews or just like a Jill kind of thing, just do like a rant, and eventually he'd hit into like hate speech and shit and get flagged to hell and back, and then he lost the channel, and then he just gave up on it. And like to this day, if you tell him, he'll kind of play the no, YouTube's too woke, they can't handle my truth kind of nonsense,
Of course.
like right. Yeah, it's like, no, you can't control your mouth and say the he often will say the quiet stuff out loud, and it's like you need to understand, guys like Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro know how to put that stuff under the dog whistle. That's
right. Exactly.
You're transmitting that on a different frequency. That's going out to your your special secret followers, the ones that are listening in the basement dressed all in red, black, and white.
America.
The real Americans. The real Americans who strangely have a German fetish,
Well put.
misbehaving. Is that your allegation?
Oh, yes, you did misbehave.
Okay, good. Okay,
mean,
so we can cover that another
will-
time.
Yeah, we can try that another time.
But in the meantime, I'm going to add you as a friend. I'm going
Sure,
to add
go
you
for
as
it.
a friend.
I will-
Okay,
I
so
will
you
be very
accept that.
specific. I will be very
Please send me the link either tonight or tomorrow. I added you to my friends list,
Oh, I see the
and
notification.
I look forward to going over that video again. Okay, so
Raphael, I don't know that Didi ever claimed to be a bus driver. Mr. Batman was.
Oh my God, that's even worse. In
I
my
think,
opinion.
I think it was for middle school. I think it was middle school students, and he would try to preach at them, and he
That's
would tell these stories
terrifying.
about things he would like advice he would give them and stuff, and everybody was skeptical. Like, did these kids ever talk to their parents or their teachers about you telling them any of this kind of stuff? Because you wouldn't have been a bus driver for long. That's inappropriate.
No, I could just see Mr. Batman talking to these middle schooler kids. Hey, are you gay?
It's just already a bad start, bus driver, but let's just say that I am. Where are you going next?
Well, you know what the Bible says.
Bible says you need to get burnt. Does
Don't be
it?
a little woke middle schooler.
Does the Bible say I can't be gay? Where exactly does it say I can't? Pat Lowen just says that he's in Cornwall. Very cool. I've always I want to visit England. I've wanted to visit England ever since I was a kid, and Cornwall is up there on places to visit because they talk like pirates, and you can see
They do. Arr, matey. Yeah, and Pat's gonna be there for a while. I think he's out of the country for a couple months, I believe. Something like that.
Yeah, doing some landscape research. Cool. Very cool. All right.
So we're clear. The word God in these kinds of conversations will refer to the creator-creature distinction, in that what is ultimate, the source of all possibility, is a mind and is eternal and an agent, and we call that God. Okay. Theism is not merely a mental state, but is propositional in nature, that at least one God, or more specifically, a creator God exists.
My God.
Atheist.
I know. This is what I'm talking about. I'm like, oh my God, here we go.
Yeah.
Proverbial diarrhea.
Yeah, your brain immediately goes flaccid. You start like thinking like,
My brain is flatlined.
I could be doing anything right now. I could be blowing bubbles into a glass of milk right now, and it would be more productive than listening to this guy ramble about this nonsense. The Spooky says Mr. Batman was known as Christian Hillbilly back in the school bus driving days. That's right. That's right. And I think that was when I first heard about him, because I remember hearing somebody, I was like, are there two lunatics with the same crazy voice? Because I'd heard Christian Hillbilly before, and then they were like, oh, or maybe not. No, I think I'm wrong. I think I'm not remembering that correctly. I think Mr. Batman was how I saw him first, and then somebody told me, like, he used to be Christian Hillbilly, and then I had remembered a video. I'm like, oh, those are the same guys.
They're like gremlins. They throw water on them, they multiply.
I'm like, holy crap! Like, it was a relief, because it was like, oh, okay, it's just the one. There's not two guys exactly like that.
Fair.
Although, but when you had guys like, Whitmire and Spooky Saint and, Smoky Saint or whatever, Spooky Saint, Smoky Saint.
Spooky Saint. Actually, that's more appropriate. Actually, the clip of Mr. Batman that I do have on my channel is from Smoky Saint's streams from back in the day when he had Mr. Batman on there. I can't remember what I asked. I asked something about, do you think that the government should enforce Old Testament law, and as far as like stoning people for simply being gay? And his answer was just atrocious. He was like, well, we don't live in a theocracy, but if we did, and that's what we want to do. He didn't say that part, but I knew that's what he was going for. Yes, that's what we want to do. It was just icky. And Smoky Saint's just like, oh yeah, amen, brother. Well said. Yeah. Pretty cringe.
It was gross. Let me do that. I'm gonna play this, and then I'll put in another one here.
Yeah.
You mind if I send my brother a link? Can make it like a.
Absolutely not. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't do that.
He's pulling a Darth Dawkins. Invite me on, Jefferson. Invite me on. Yeah, it's like, yeah, your channel. And I like
Theism,
Jay,
according to the
for the most part. Yeah, he's all right, I guess. I don't care what they say about him.
standard definition within the reference literature that's out there, encyclopedias, dictionaries, including philosophy, encyclopedias and dictionary. The standard definition is that there are no gods. Okay. There is a third verbalized position where one claims one way or other to suspend judgment. So do you affirm, do you deny, or do you suspend judgment about the existence of God?
I suspend judgment based
Can
on
I just say,
a lack
on,
of
yep.
demonstrable and verifiable.
okay, I'm actually surprised that Darth actually did give more than just that one definition of atheism. Like he said, okay, you have the positive atheists who claim there are no God or gods, and then you have the other one, which is they suspend judgment. That's actually surprising for me to hear him actually make that distinction, and then follow up with which one do you fall under, or is it another one that you fall under?
Which is interesting because other people have tried to point out, like, okay, there is a difference though, because Darth is like obsessed with sort of the philosophical definition, the one
Right.
that you have to take a position, a God exists or a God doesn't exist, for the purposes of having a philosophical discussion. But if people ever bring up the idea, and Malpass had a problem dealing with this with him, like, well, no, my belief stance would, or a psychological position on it, you could be agnostic about it. Your psychological,
Right.
Your psychological disposition could be one of disbelief or agnosticism, where you're like, oh, maybe there's something out there. But if you were going to take a stance one way or the other, you could. And the odd thing about this is that I don't think a lot of apologists understand this. Like, if you're gonna say that the only definition that you want to accept is this definition from the philosophical binary, for the purpose of the argument, you could go into it as psychologically inclined towards agnosticism, but but actually side with the theistic side and be like, as a philosophical discipline, like as far as the argument goes, I'm probably more inclined to accept the idea that some kind of higher power or creative force exists, but that wouldn't change your psychological disposition on it.
Right.
And I think that's always what ends up getting missed in a lot of those discussions about what it is to be an atheist or whatever. It's sort of like the difference between, like, I could attend church every Sunday and be a very religious person. I could follow most of the rules and do that. I could still doubt the existence of God.
Right. Yeah, that's a good contrast. Good
So,
example.
like, I'm a religiously devout person, but I have, my own psychological disposition is I'm either agnostic or maybe I'm actually kind of a disbeliever. Like, I'm actually doing kind of the fake it till you make it kind of thing. Yeah, it's a cultural thing. It's part of my heritage. I enjoy it. I have friends and family that are in this religious group, and I get a benefit from it, even though I'm not entirely convinced it might be literally true. And I don't know that these guys make a lot of room for that, those variables.
Well, when it comes to pre-suppers, I feel like there's no nuance. They don't want any nuance. They just want yes or no, and then they want to back you into a corner. And then if you say, well, okay, let's just say I accept your presuppositionalism and all the baggage that comes with it, but how do we get to Jesus? That will immediately shut the conversation down. They will not talk about it, at least in my experience.
Yeah, and I think as long as Christians are cagey like that, I don't think it does them any favors. The worst thing that it does for them is that, like, the precept thing gives them this illusion of certainty, but it's like, okay, but your faith could kind of wax and wane, and even in different religions kind of deal with what might feel like. But in Christianity, there seems to be, especially like in the U.S., there seems to be an obsession with knowing for certain that there's God, and knowing that it's Jesus, and knowing that this is exactly what this stuff means. Being absolutely certain about it is very important to a lot of Christians in terms of how they define their faith. But a lot of the stuff they can claim to be certain about is stuff like Darth is doing, where it's entirely based on your own reason. If you can craft this rhetorical device that allows you to conclude that there's no other worldview possible other than the Christian one, you can just sort of like, brush your hands and be like, oh, well, yeah, okay, then God's inevitable. Like, oh, yeah, okay, maybe, but how did you get Jesus out of that? How are you certain that Jesus is the right one? And then they'll just kind of blow past that one. And it's like, I really think that you guys are like, you're putting a lot of stock in the fact that you think that you can prove this stuff, which is ironic given that these sort of transcendental arguments and precept arguments are about trying to convince people. Well, the precept one, I think, is largely about trying to encourage Christians to know that they can be certain about God. I mean, that's really why it's an apologetic in that sense. I don't think it's great for converting people, but the transcendental arguments and things like that you throw out there, those are more built, around like trying to have that philosophical discussion. Maybe you convert somebody.
Right, because like when it comes to the kalam or the argument from contingency and stuff like that, I feel like that's just, at most, it's putting, they're trying to convince the person of theism at most or deism at minimum. And then they use this other arguments to get a cumulative case. And then by the time you finally get to Jesus, they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, because if you're like, okay, now that we've had this weird roundabout discussion about whether or not the creator-creature distinction is a necessary thing, and there's this necessarily existing being upon which all things are contingent. Okay, why did it have to die for our sins in the form of a human?
Right. And why does it have all these omni properties that contradict each other?
Yeah, and then they'll just, for somebody like Darth, they'll be like, well, that just follows from his nature. Like, how do you define the nature of a being such as that? Like,
because we got a homeschool trio here.
AJ.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. It came to mind. I had to say it.
All right, let's
Paging Jay.
Oh, I'm sure he's there. He's always watching, reading.
Viable evidence.
Okay, just so you know, I don't know how well you're acquainted with me. I've been doing this for 12 years, and I spent a lot of time studying this issue. I've heard every possible atheist bullet point, cliche, or slogan. So whatever you do say, it's not going to be new to me, and I will be prepared.
And here he is.
With
That's an interesting way to enter a conversation. I'm not going to learn anything from you. Let's talk. Like, wait, don't do that right out the gate. Like, I'm acquainted with everything. I know everything about atheism.
Just like you said, he's saying the quiet part out loud. Like, hey, you may think that, but don't say it right off the bat.
Yeah.
Or at all.
Turing test says, hello, all DD with the humble brag again.
Yeah.
I've heard it all. I've been doing this for 12 years when I started out on Xbox Live talking to 10-year-olds.
Yelling at 10-year-olds.
I think it would be interesting to see Darth have a conversation with a Buddhist, especially. I can't remember which particular group it is, where they basically really don't care about the metaphysical. Like they care about helping one another, helping the poor, kind of like an old school Christian message. Like
isn't that Zen? Isn't that basically Zen Buddhism?
I think Zen has a little bit of that, but this particular one is less interested in sort of like they're very interested in engaging in a spiritual practice, so mindfulness and meditation, just like Zen. But then they're also interested in like a community outreach kind of thing. If you get them into a conversation about the existence of God or some kind of like transcendental, morality or something like that, they just basically check out. Like, no, like they don't care. They're like, there's no way that you would know that. Like the best that you can do is engage in mindfulness and be helpful to other people. Try to be helpful to other living things. Yeah. And that's it. That's the best you can do. The rest of this is just you wanking it, I can't remember, because I knew a guy, he was from a Japanese branch of it, and his was a little bit more like dogmatic. Like he had a prayer book and beads and like a whole thing. I don't think it was his. I think it was another group, because I was asking him questions about the different ones in because I think he was Nichiren, or maybe he was critical of Nichiren. I don't know. One of these days I've got to sort that out.
An answer. Okay. Now you claim to suspend judgment, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to explain to you why that claim cannot be supported. There's only two possible worlds. There's the God world and the not God world, as per the law of excluded middle.
Rhetorically, sure.
Wait,
that doesn't make any sense in like a demonstrated reality. That's not.
But even if you're going to do that propositionally, you can say, yeah, that's true. But if you're talking about someone suspending judgment, that goes to their mental state. So in that case, he's already, he keeps fucking up the propositions from the psychology.
Well, not only that,
from the
well,
mental state of the person.
yeah, and not only that, but like the idea of like, okay, you only have two realities available. There is a reality where a God exists, and there's a reality where there is no God that exists. Right? You just have these two. Like, okay, but in those two realities, you can have one reality where the God exists, and some people believe he exists, and some people don't. And you can have a world where no God exists, and some people believe he doesn't exist, and some people believe that one does.
Or you could have but there could be a world. It could be a world where God did exist and no longer exists.
Well, that's okay, but that would be in a slightly, but that would be in a different category, right?
Well, it depends on. Well, that's
if he just wants to make it like, yeah, he just wants to make it that it either is there or it isn't there. Like, okay, fine, but in terms of like this worldview stuff, that doesn't change how the worldviews work. You're going to have you're in either one of them. You could have people that believe it. The idea is like, do they believe in something that's not there, or do they believe in something that is there? One group is right and one group is wrong. He's trying to say that, well, it has to be the case that there is a God, and therefore everyone that acknowledges that God exists is right.
Yeah, and that's solely based on the concept of the thing, that the thing is necessary. Not only it is necessary for everything, and it's necessary to basically maintain everything. So
right,
it's always present. It always has to be what it is.
Right, but then after that, it's like, okay, but what you just set up is that's not necessarily all that there is. You set this up as a rhetorical exercise, but just because you've established this as an argument, either God is there or God isn't there, we can debate that. But that doesn't mean that that's the only alternative. That's just what we're arguing about. In the ontology there could be gods.
Right.
Like he's not actually setting up two alternatives like that. Like there either is a world where there are multiple gods or there's just one God. Right. Now that's not exactly. That's not the
sneaks in. Oh
yeah,
great.
Yeah.
It's just in the baggage.
Yeah. It's just like, look, like I get what he's trying to do, but he still thinks that this rhetoric somehow dictates how reality works. It's like, no, that's just the parameters of your argument.
When are we going to get
other options out there? There's even other arguments for, this is why I think it's really important when these guys, like, it's not important to ask them, like, what God are you talking about in terms of saying, are you talking about Yahweh? Are you talking about Jesus? Are you talking about Thor? What are you talking about? You talk about the kind of God that they're arguing for in terms of an argument. And Darth usually comes out with this God is usually it's the God that is responsible for divine conceptualism, and also it's the necessary.
It's the God of
the mind behind.
It's the God of facts.
Yeah,
His is the God of facts. That's to boil it down. His is the God of facts. You can't have facts without this God.
Right. But and the facts themselves, facts like what you know about a thing is the same as the thing existing.
Yep.
So you have a complete conflation of epistemology and ontology, and that's what makes God real. And that's the only way he can get to what he's talking about. And it's like, all you have to do is reject that basic notion. Like, no, because I can believe that things are real that haven't been demonstrated to me. In fact, Christians do it all the time.
I just stated.
Got him.
No, I do not, because you are excluding two other possibilities.
Here we go again. Okay. All right. You need to
stop over talking me, sir.
Clearly,
sir,
okay? You accept the law of
stop over talking me, sir.
I
You just over talk me, sir.
Middle. I do not accept the proposition you introduced.
Okay. Now, if I fill in a value for A and not A, whatever statement that is would be necessarily true. Okay.
That's propositionally, not mentality.
For a proposition, not for reality. Not necessarily. It's just for an art. Like this is the interesting thing. Like for the concept. Yeah. For dealing with the conception, the framework of the argument that you're putting out there. Yeah. Okay. That can work. But that's not all we have to deal with. We're just talking about like
Darth, make the A equal to the rainbow colored unicorn that shits gold bricks in my backyard. Oh, don't be ridiculous.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Not Christianity, no.
the God that became human to die for your sins to save you from his daddy's wrath. Totally plausible.
Yep.
He sent himself to kill himself to save us from himself.
Save him from, he died so that he wouldn't kill us.
60%.
Trademark.
60% of the time, he loves us every time.
Yeah.
His love is unconditional, on the condition that you love him back.
Yeah. His love is unconditional. Unless you factor in his wrath, then it's all conditional.
Understand?
Oh, I do understand.
Do you accept that that is true?
That's a bit of a tough one. In all
No,
honesty.
actually, it's not. It's a cakewalk.
Yeah, no, it's not really a cakewalk because
No,
the
it is a
cake.
cakewalk.
No, it's a cake.
I will cite for you Alex Malpass, PhD, philosopher, who is an atheist and highly respected and regarded on.
But not by Darth Dawkins. Darth Dawkins has heaped an enormous amount of verbal abuse and disrespect on Alex Malpass, directly and indirectly. The fact that he's doing this is just complete bullshit. Oh, I know a guy. I've personally talked to this guy who's very well respected and an atheist. And I'll tell you right now, this is a layup. Okay, yeah, I would agree with Malpass, and I kind of agree with Darth here. It is kind of a layup, but it's not getting him anywhere. This is not the own he thinks it is. It's like, okay, in terms of your argument, sure, it's one or the other. Cool. Next. Would you like to talk? I don't want to steal like from Pine Creek's routine. Do you want to talk about Jesus now, Darth?
Is there in a world where there could be a Santa Claus and a world where there is not a Santa Claus? Same thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
On Discord.
Oh,
I will even. Why are you over talking me? Here you are accusing me of misbehaving on your YouTube channel, and when I'm responding to you, you're cutting me off.
You did.
Right?
You
I'm
started
trying to
it,
explain
Darth.
to you why you are incorrect. Now, the law, unless you want to challenge the laws of logic, including the law of excluded middle,
they're not absolute.
The law of excluded middle, when values are inserted for A, are necessarily true statements. Something is either A or not A. Something is either a marshmallow or not a marshmallow.
No.
Okay.
Wait. No, there's either a marshmallow or there's an absence of marshmallow. It's not, there's either a marshmallow or something totally different than a marshmallow. That is not a dichotomy.
But it's a foregone conclusion because we have examples of marshmallows. When you start doing the thing with God, now you have to talk about that thing as it comports to reality. He hasn't established saying, oh, it could be or it can't. Yeah, great. Like you said before, great. It's either is the case or it's not the case. Woo. Okay. Now where do we go from there?
It's like he doesn't realize it, but it goes from presuppositionalism to evidentialism because, then you have to say, okay, well, we know what marshmallows are. We know what they're made out of. We know how they taste, but where's God? Like, where does God fit into this equation?
Well, and that's when he'll end up doing the whole thing. Well, the only thing that you can know is anything that has context, which those are facts, and right. So the only thing that you can actually know is something that is actually real, which means that it's true, which means that it's dependent and contingent upon an ultimate creator, which is God. So therefore, I win. And it's like that one doesn't follow. The last step just doesn't work. And the second part of this whole thing is like, he's essentially saying like your subjective experience is proof of the existence of the things that you experience and therefore the creator of those things within that experience. Like, how did you get there? You had to infer that from your subjective experience. If you tell these guys that that's where their starting point is their subjective experience, they will tap out quick. Like, no, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. Before that, I have to assume that there's a God that made my subjective experience possible in the first place. Like, you can't assume that from the jump because you're already experiencing your subjective reality. You're already doing it. And anything that you glean from that past that point is more inference. This is why I think this exercise in presuppositionalism is just a way for Christians to feel like their belief is absolutely certain, because they can just say, no, actually, this is all part of revelation, and the proof that stuff is being revealed to me is I'm experiencing it right now. And it's like, well, okay, cool. The entailment to that is that if you're getting attacked in an alleyway, that is proof of God. If you are a group of people who are being victimized by a genocidal regime, you are experiencing God. everything's God at that point, all the good and all the bad. So if you try to say like, oh, well, that's all revelational, it's all part of his good world, and then turn around and say, oh, wait a minute though, the bad stuff comes from us. How? How could it possibly come from us when everything necessarily depends
We're
upon
better
God?
than God. We're
Yeah,
better
it's
than
just-
God.
just-
We
that's
can
crazy.
fuck shit up and he can't.
Yeah, it contradicts what they're saying.
Spooky had written 88 watching, 24 likes. There's still time to remove those likes.
Spooky.
So the statement "something is a marshmallow or is not a marshmallow" is a necessarily true statement.
Right, but then you have to get into the weeds of what a marshmallow.
We're
That's
not
only-
we're not discussing that at this juncture. Okay.
Whoa, wait.
Okay, so we're not
See,
discussing
so you've now contradicted yourself. You've now contradicted yourself.
No, he
Because I
hasn't.
said to you a few minutes ago that all one would have to do is fill in a value for A as it is expressed as per the law of excluded middle, and the statement will be
No,
necessarily
you
true.
have to clarify
a few
what A
minutes
is
ago,
representing.
you said
dingus.
no.
Yeah, the idea
Eight-
just saying.
Oh my God.
He's
Yeah.
going from law of excluded middle to completely ignoring like law
Identity.
of identity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you're saying yes. Do you realize
No.
you've contradicted yourself?
I did not contradict myself. I did not say
Yes,
no.
you did.
No, I did not. I did not say no.
Uh-oh.
I said I am not sure because I had not yet heard how you are approaching.
Okay, so now you've had a change of mind.
Hey! Now you're talking.
Yeah, he has not had a change of mind. This is Darth like insisting that this guy's saying things he's not.
Over me, Dawkins.
It was just
So
a brief
it's my turn to
commentary.
talk. It's my turn to.
Yeah, but when anyone tries to do a brief commentary when Darth is talking, he freaks out and will.
Right.
Yeah.
Good. I hope you hold to that rule in the future.
You know what? If you can, I can. How about that?
Darth can't.
Agree?
Are you
Yes or no?
done? Are you done?
No, I'm asking.
This has already descended into the meta. They've only been talking for like 5-6 minutes, and it's already gotten into the meta. Like he's already like complaining about like
Right.
behavior and conduct.
That is a one-word.
Oh, I'll certainly try, but when atheists, pull out
No,
that,
you
that
will not.
principle,
Stop your fucking
they
lying.
rarely follow it.
Stop your
themselves.
lying, sir.
Anyways,
Shut your
I'm
fucking
gonna
filthy
finish
mouth.
my
you.
point
Sir.
real quick. So I did not say no. I said I'm not sure because I had not yet heard how you were approaching, how you define something as necessarily true, so as versus necessary and contingent. Because
Hold
depending
on.
on where you fall,
Pause that for a second.
necessity.
Now remember, Ember, whenever you say something, whenever you claim that someone is gaslighting, you're gaslighting.
According to her, yeah. I think you're
Checkmate,
gaslighting me.
Ember.
How dare you gaslight me?
Necessity in philosophy is still something that is discussed and is still something that is not considered truly concrete. There are those that hold to what you're proposing, such as what along the lines of Alex Malpass, who I have met and spoke with, and once you
In
had said
person?
that-
In person?
no, over Discord and also on another person's YouTube channel that I was filling in on as a contributor. He's a great guy. I think he's nice. Very, very well studied. And then there are others that I am not as familiar with because it's been a little bit since I looked at necessity, truth be told. So, yeah, no, I accept what you are saying based on what you have presented thus far as far as necessity. So, no,
Okay. Just hold on a second. Okay. So so let's see. Let's Farm. Are you there?
One moment.
Okay. Tell me when you're ready.
Yes.
Okay, not cool guy Jeff is somebody who harasses and stalks me on a variety of servers.
Oh God.
I would ask that interfere or join a conversation that I am first in. Okay.
Okay, let's.
He is one of the stalkers.
Oh God.
Okay, I'm not.
Not
shut
to
up.
you.
Wait,
Go ahead.
just stop for
Okay, let's farm. I just
Can you
want
pause
you
this
to,
for pause this for a second? If he wants to just have a conversation with this guy, why didn't he just change the format so that it was like a stage event? Because you can do that on Discord, right? Where
Well,
it's
that's
basic-
because you need God for that. You need the foundation of reality.
Oh,
Yeah, and I
Infinite
don't
mind.
And I don't know that I don't know what Darth's role is in this particular room because he's on, like I said, I'm pretty sure this is Mr. Batman's server.
Oh,
That like atheism, what does he call that? The atheist torture room or something? I don't know. Something like
The atheist
I
torture room.
was in a little Amy Newman, I think, had a room on it. She would go in there and do like impromptu debates on there. But I dropped it because it's insane. The people
Yeah,
on that are insane.
yeah. I only use Discord to like keep in touch, like chat with Nicola, chat with Simus, chat with you, certain individuals. But going into those servers is just absolutely just dipping your toe in the water. Just get sucked in, and it's like, fuck this
The
crazy.
riptide.
Yep.
Okay, let's get past his meta, and he's complaining about not cool guy Jeff 69.
I know that I'm not interested in Darth Dawkins talking to me or anything with my affairs.
Well, that's a lie. You're lying right now.
Okay.
Then why do you engage in persistent stalking, harassing me, and contacting me? Okay.
Let him speak.
You contact me in text messages. You contact me on various Discord servers. You follow me around. And for you to say you're not interested in speaking with me, you're lying. He's lying right to your face.
So, you're engaging with him right now.
So Dawkins.
Yeah, to confront him that the fact that he's lying again. You see, this is what I have to.
You can't help it. You can't help it. You idiot. You fucking idiot.
You can't help it, and you just hand it out there, and I'm like, yeah, I'll bait. Yes, please. Work. Oh, let's see how long
these people.
Oh, I got them. I got them arm on
you directly. I could show
see, this is what I wanted to prevent. Okay.
Please let him.
And yet he caused it somehow. Fancy that.
Speak to me again.
Yeah, let's farm. I could send you screenshots and show you that on almost every occasion he engages with me through text messages, also on Clubhouse as well.
Only after you contact me or stalk me.
I do not need screenshots. I just do not need you.
Yeah, let's just move on. This guy's a stalker. Okay.
Yeah. So
I told you ahead of time. Let's farm that they would show up. Okay.
So, Farm, may I interject something real quick?
Go ahead. Talking to me. Yes.
So, yeah, I'm talking to you, Farm. Well, actually, I'm talking to all three of y'all since I was invited in to talk to Darth Dawkins about a specific topic. If, it looks like you're hosting it, Farm, so you're modding it. So I understand it's still your show at the end of the day. But what I will ask as a contributor and interlocutor that, unless somebody like raises their hand to ask a question, or can we just keep it where it's just me and Darth talking and then you moderating?
Yeah, that's fair.
Needed? Is that okay?
It didn't sound like he was interested. Oh, okay.
I got the wrong guy. You got the wrong guy. That's not cool. That's not cool guy, Jeff.
I would like to keep it that way, if we could.
I am perfectly fine with that. So, Dawkins, would you like to continue?
Yeah. So you're using in your name the word atheist in a non-standard usage. That atheism.
No, he's not.
Atheism for you is a suspension of judgment, which you claimed earlier. Now, it's not possible to suspend judgment about God because of the category that God is.
No, that's a theological position, not a philosophical one.
And that sounds like special pleading if you're going to say it's in a special category, right? Because of the category, it's like, what category is it in? Oh, it's in the category of the divine. What the fuck is that now?
Yeah, like, oh, well, we're gonna unpack a bunch of theological terms, and I'm just going to insist and assert that they're all philosophically necessary. Like, oh, what? Why? And then when you ask, okay, well, if you just want to talk about theology, do you want to talk about Jesus? I don't know. I don't give a shit what you think about Jesus. Like, don't you? Aren't you gonna? Like, if this comes close to like convincing me that an all-powerful creator is not only true but necessarily true, don't you want me to make the connection that thing is also Jesus? Like,
well, that's the thing. The few different preceptors I've talked to, anytime I bring up Jesus, they do not want to talk about it. I think they know. I think preceptors realize from their perspective, they feel like they're better equipped to like attack and debunk atheism. But when it comes to Jesus, I think they realize that the atheist has the upper hand. even though really the atheist has the upper hand in either case. But I don't. It's like they practice so much on debunking atheism that they don't spend any time perfecting their own arguments for Jesus. So they just try not to talk about Jesus, period.
Yeah, and I think they know, like, okay, if we get into the topic of Jesus, some of these atheists are going to start asking questions about, the kind of like entangled stuff, like, wait, why does Jesus have to die, and
Right.
how does that work, and is it just faith or is it works? Like, okay,
I think they realize there's so much theological and philosophical baggage when it comes to Jesus, because Jesus, an innocent person had to die so that guilty people can live. It becomes this whole thing.
And everybody's like some of these Christians like Darth and you got like what's his nuts, Smokey Saint, and a few others. You're all basically pieces of shit. You're all trash fit for the fire until you come to Jesus, right? And Darth does that too, because that's part of this is part of that shtick. Even if you get the person, this has nothing to do with having that relationship with Christ. That, according to Darth, is when you're sitting in your car and you realize in complete desperation how absolutely worthless you end. You break down and you cry and you go, "Please come into my life, Jesus." That is where he wants everybody to go.
Mm-hmm.
But in this particular case, so it's one thing to get a person to just believe that there is a God, or accept, or to be like the demons, right? Be like the demons are, right? They don't have a relationship with Christ, but they know that Christ is Christ, right? They know he's the Son of God, as it says in the Bible, but they're not in that spirit. They're not in that relationship with Christ.
Right.
So what is the fucking point of what he's talking about?
Well, the other thing too comes about, like, if you look at critical scholars and the way they kind of approach the differences between the way Christianity is described between Paul and what the writers of the Gospels have written about what Jesus taught, it's kind of different. A lot of what Jesus taught seems to be a little bit more consistent with what his brother James is described as doing, where you have to do these works.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
Taking care of the poor and tending to the needy, taking care of your fellow man was paramount to being a good Christian and living a good Christian life. And that was something that you could do. And then maybe that led towards this kind of salvation. Paul ends up getting into just the apocalyptic side of things, right? Because, I mean, even with Jesus' ministry, he's talking about the return of the Son of Man. He's not talking about himself. Paul thinks that he's the Son of Man and he's coming back, and he's coming back imminently. So his whole thing is about, you get these gifts of the Holy Spirit and you can go around and preach this word that he's coming back, and he's coming back in our lifetimes. He's coming back soon. And so for them, salvation is basically allying yourself with Jesus before he comes back, making sure that you're an ally with him. But a lot of this stuff that ends up happening later on as Christian theology develops, where you become a born-again Christian, you do what Darth is talking about. You get so desperate, you hit rock bottom like you would in AA, and then you have a moment of clarity, right? And then you come to Jesus, and then because you believe and you repented, then you are saved. That's a relatively new. That's a later development. All that stuff has evolved into Christian theology, and a lot of Christians just look at them like, "Oh, well, I can just point to here, in these verses, and this supports this theological claim." Like, I know some scholars, they would beg to differ, but I know that you got this from your pastor. Can you ask your pastor where he learned this in seminary before he got ordained in your denomination? And does he think? And has he read these other scholars?
Jeff. The spooky bed here wrote, "Grr is the thorn between two roses."
I would like a bitch.
I would like to more like the thorn between two turd blossoms.
It's a turd sandwich. and I'm the meat. Just eats meat.
Grr Mania, 100% meat.
What would you like to eat, Kowalski?
Okay, so God being in the category of what is ultimate conceptually constitutes a worldview, which we could call the God worldview versus the not God world.
Ultimate conceptually, okay. There's actually different concepts of that, though. That the ultimate being in the sense that it's transcendent of space, time, and matter. could be one way of looking at it as some kind of being beyond the stuff, or it is space, time, and matter. All of that is the same. It's sort of a pantheistic, God is reality kind of view. That can also be,
right.
That's a different conceptualization of ultimate, but that can still be there. And Darth is just sort of blowing past that, being like, no. By ultimate, I mean, it's got all great making properties and it made everything. And and the only reason that anything could be made is because this thing did it.
Yeah, they define God into existence.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, what was that article that paper that who was that by who talked about the ultimate?
Stephen Mason. I can't remember what is it? University of
How do you spell his name?
Maitzen, and it's Stephen with a PH. And it's I believe the you can find it on his papers are on his webpage for the university that he teaches at. You can go in, there's a link for published stuff, and it's an article, and it's called Against Ultimacy, I think. And it's only like 14 pages long. He's basically
that's what I'm talking about.
He's challenging this kind of notion, the kind of Schellenberg philosophy of religion, kind of God of classical theism, ultimate, and he just kind of goes through and breaks down why it doesn't work.
I found it. Yep, I got it. I'm going to share the link in your. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that they attached a. You can now chat through StreamYard now.
I just noticed that too, actually, about 10 minutes ago.
Oh, you guys as users can?
Yeah.
Yeah, because me as the host, I can. Yeah.
Yeah. Now they allow it. Now they allow it for people who are actually,
Oh, nice.
Yep.
But
So you don't
I'm
have to
so
have
used
that
to
on.
having two separate tabs.
Yeah.
So I didn't notice it for like the longest time. Like we've been going an hour and 6 minutes, and I just noticed probably 10 minutes ago that I could join the chat via StreamYard instead of an external tab on YouTube.
Yeah. The one thing I wish you could do, because they don't have this, you can't tag somebody. You can't highlight them on the in the comments through StreamYard. So if you want to target somebody, highlight somebody, and respond to them directly, you still have to do that in a separate tab on YouTube.
Oh, the @ sign
So
doesn't work on this to
No.
do that.
I mean,
Oh,
you can type it in there, but it won't highlight that. That coding doesn't transfer over, as far as I know, unless they push the patch. It'll show @ and then you have to type in the whole username and then put it in there, so it'll look like that, but it won't actually like highlight.
Well, I just put @ bridge the divide and then put test. See if it works. I can't see it though. I'm not.
It's just typed. It's not highlighted.
Okay.
On the actual YouTube side.
Jefferson be targeting people.
Targeting people. You know what I meant. Don't tell people that. They'll believe that shit, Michael.
When facts are invoked, they will either be invoked explicitly or implicitly with reference to the necessity of God,
explicitly? Or did I just hear that
without.
wrong?
He said it a little weird, but
Yeah. Okay.
So we can fill in the value of A and not A in the law of excluded middle to demonstrate that facts will be invoked either with or without reference to God. If they are invoked with reference to God,
how would you do that with the law of excluded middle?
It's the proposition. Yeah, he's conflating the law of identity with basically a proposition is either true or it's false. So yeah, oh wow, I'm not even gonna.
But
most people here know that
this
better
is the
than
problem.
you.
Like okay, they use marshmallow. It's either a marshmallow or it's not that, right? Marshmallow or not marshmallow.
Yeah, or the classic,
right.
The Bachelor.
But
right?
The idea of invoking the fact of it, whether it is or it isn't, by referencing God, is not part of that. That's a
you have to determine.
It's a different rhetorical.
Yeah, determining
rhetorical burden.
Yeah, because you're determining the propositions comport to the veracity of something in reality. Propositions don't make things actual. They
might represent reality.
They represent. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. There's that whole truth bearer and truth. What do they call that? The truth bearer and
John Fabiano. We can fill in the value of A with A, then take G and add O and D.
Clever.
God, that entails the existence of God. okay, in terms of the person's propositional stance. If
DD.
facts are by choice invoked without referencing the necessity of God via modus ponens, it necessarily entails that the person is committed to the not God
But
world.
you haven't
I don't know why
determined.
he's I don't know why he's invoking modus ponens, because he hasn't, as far as I can tell, he hasn't actually put this in a syllogism.
No.
Modus,
Yeah.
modus
no
ponens is
syllogism.
only, you'd only do that if you're constructing it as syllogism, so it would need to be valid. But he's
And
not
he
doing
hasn't
that as
established.
premise.
Yeah, and he hasn't established the veracity of God yet. The what he's talking about does not establish the veracity of the thing in and of itself.
No.
It would the veracity, the actuality of it. So when you're doing that,
At
it's to
best, he
establish
might be.
the
At
truth of the
best, he,
proposition.
no. At best, he's going to end up establishing the validity of the structure of his argument.
Correct.
But then the veracity of any of the stuff contained in that argument is still up for grabs.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Rebecca, I can't decide who's worse at philosophy, Jordan Peterson or DD. If you ask either Jordan Peterson or DD, each they're better than the other. They'll just declare
they cancel out
themselves
each other.
winner. Yeah,
It's a +1 and a -1 together.
Well, no, to be fair, Jordan Peterson would say, "Who the fuck is DD?"
Oh, yeah.
True.
Oh, his name is Darth Dawkins. I have no idea who that is. Should
But
I know who that is? No, you shouldn't.
Jordan Peterson is remarkably bad at theological stuff. Like he assumes a lot of stuff. He's bad.
Yeah, agreed.
And hence that vitiates the possibility of suspending judgment. So I will ask you a very simple question.
No, it doesn't.
No,
How
it doesn't.
That didn't follow.
Not at all.
That doesn't follow at all.
Do you, by
Not
choice, when you invoke facts, do you, by choice, reference the necessity of God?
If I
You see, this is something that I asked him about too, because if God is the necessary precondition for all facts, you reference him every time you use a fact. It's being done whether you acknowledge it or not. This is him getting off track, even with his own thinking. Like, do you do that by choice? Have you decided not to invoke God when you invoke a fact? Like, I can't do that. If his worldview is true,
Right.
you can't do that. You invoke a God. Facts invoke God by definition, according to them. That's just the logical entailment. Every fact is a reflection of God. They're necessarily contingent upon the existence of that God. That's how they came to be. When I invoke a fact, when I talk about anything in existence and it happens to be true, that is invoking the existence of his God by extension, whether I'm willingly doing that or not.
Yeah.
Like, what he's trying to do is actually vitiate. He's trying to obliviate the idea of sin, the noetic effect of sin. In Christian theology, it is necessary for people to be able to deny the existence of God because that justifies God killing them. Because there's two things that you can do: understand that there is a God and then deliberately disobey him, or act as if he's not real and then disobey him somehow just by default. Even if you end up living a good life, you could be a Christian, but because for certain Christians you're not born again and don't actually believe that he's real, that's the same as having been a Satanist. So you're going to hell. But any of that shit is necessary in order for in order for Christians to square the idea that God's wrath is on track. He's only going to punish the non-believer and the disobedient. Those two groups are going to hell.
It makes me wonder, like, let's just say Christianity is true, which obviously it's not. All the evil sinners in hell, they're burning right now, and they're thinking to themselves, and God still loves me.
This is fine. This is all part of the plan.
Because really, like, when you think about it, it's like, okay, so God can only do that which is just and righteous and good. So when he casts an atheist or a non-Christian into hell and they're suffering, God should be praised for that. He should be praised for sending people to hell to burn forever, because he can do no wrong. So really, Christians should celebrate anytime someone goes to hell.
Well, the interesting paradox to bring up here, I do want to bring this up. Has anyone asked Dee Dee to lay out the full causal path from a Nate's hot dog back to God?
You know what? That would be hilarious.
That would be good.
I'm not catching that reference. What is it? That Nate's hot dog?
Nate's is a brand of hot dogs.
Is it?
Yeah, Nate's is a brand of hot dogs.
You're an Oscar Mayer kind of guy, aren't you?
I think we found a Dietz and Watson guy here.
Hebrew National. Hebrew National.
Yeah. The skinniest hot dog with thrice the salt. Yeah, those things are great. No, the idea that like, okay, like what Grr just brought up was the idea that if he sent anybody to hell, it's a good thing that he did that because he punished them. There are Christians that are like, he has to send certain people to hell because if he didn't, he wouldn't be just.
Right.
But
and so
if he gave them a pass, that would also be good because he's merciful. There is no goodness there. That's a contradiction. He could forgive everyone. He could condemn everyone. He can save a few or save a lot or any combination of these and then condemn others. And all of it is good in any mix that you put it in.
Yes. And you see, this is the type of stuff I would love to see atheists challenge Darth Dawkins with. Instead of going down the presuppositional route, just bringing the theology and showing the contradictions therein, or at least the perceivable moral atrocities of, God sent someone to hell. You should not be sad. You should be happy because that's God's justice. And then they realize that there's maniacs if they do that.
Hoffman's is a superior wiener. I just wrote superior wiener. Noise. That's what she said. Yours is Johanny. Yours is a superior wiener.
See, you could see that Grr, that Jay was not paying attention to the point.
I see that.
he was fixated on wieners at the time.
I found the comment funny. Fuck you.
You find wieners funny, do you?
Ask me about my wiener. Like Michael Fred, kosher hot dogs. Believe it or not, they are kosher. They are from the
so they say
the cow. They're beef. There's no pork and chicken mixed in, and they have an enormous amount of that oleo resin of paprika. So they are very. You get a good hot dog water, if you know what I mean, out of a boiled Hebrew National.
It's almost like a tea, really.
Well,
wiener tea.
Somebody they cut up they cut up hot dogs, and if you do this with I think it would be dangerously salty if you did it with Hebrew Nationals. They chop them up, throw them in boiling water, boil them up as chunks, and then add macaroni to that. Boil the macaroni in the hot dog water, then drain all that, and then that's and make hot dog mac and cheese that way, where you've boiled the pasta in hot dog water, and then you add its salty, cheesy goodness. It is difficult to eat.
Just something about the just hearing hot dog water. I would describe Darth Dawkins' apologetics as hot dog water.
Yeah, Russ says Nate's is a hot dog stand in New York City. Yeah, they have a whole Nate's and what's the other one? I can't remember. There's Nate's and there's another big a famous hot dog brand from New York. It's sort of like being a Mets and a Yankees kind of fan. You'd like one or the other. Although I don't think.
Christopher asked. He said one thing I always question is there's no rehabilitation from hell, and the thing is the rehabilitation from hell starts in this life that God gave you. After that,
yeah, like that's another thing. I'll hear Frank Turek. He says this a lot. That hell is locked from the inside, meaning people could leave hell, but they won't leave hell because they prefer hell over God. And it's this really slippery weasel way out of condemning God for sending someone to hell. Because he's like, oh, no. I mean, they don't
God
want to go to heaven.
Then the condemnation. So God doesn't actually, there's no condemnation from God. There's no judgment from God. You're punishing
yourself. Yeah. Well, that's the death, right? You separated yourself from God. God didn't separate himself.
Self-inflicted torment.
But here's the problem with that is why did God create a special realm for these people to tuck themselves in and be miserable when God could regenerate their hearts with the power of his Holy Spirit?
Right. He hardens hearts in the Old Testament, so that would follow that he could also soften hearts, I would think. So
Oh, Bridge of the Divide asked, did Dee Dee ever respond to the whole, if God grounds and is the necessary requirement for all possibility, then God is what grounds all evil argument?
Nope.
I would love to see that.
He can't touch
happen.
it. He can't really deal with that.
I just remember doing that with praise, and it was so small. And wait a minute. So funny. I was like, God, everything comes, everything is in, everything that exists is in the mind of God. Yes, evil exists. No, wait just a minute.
Yeah, as soon as you do that, they start, well, hang on, you're trying to trick us. Like, wait, well, here's the thing. If everything is necessarily contingent upon God, then how,
Right.
what they'll try to do is say that
Logical
evil is,
entailment.
yeah, the logical entailment then will be like, okay, then anything evil would have to be contingent upon him as well. And they'll say, no, actually, you don't understand. In the same way that cold is the absence of heat, or darkness is the absence of light, evil is the absence of good. I'm like, no, that's not it at all. Because the absence of good might be indifference. It might just be, nothing. There's a difference between helping an old lady onto a bus and shoving her into traffic. The one is just to not help her onto the bus. That would be an absence of a good thing. The absence of a good thing is not the addition of malice. So malice comes from somewhere. And so they'll say, oh, that comes from you. Okay, if it comes from me and we ground evil, but everything else is grounded in God, God's not ultimate. Because there's something else in this universe. It's contingent, but it's contingent upon our acts, our will. And they'll say like, oh, yeah, but the reason we have that capacity, theologically speaking, is because God has imbued our souls with free will and blah, and this is a consequence. Okay, then evil is contingent upon God. The only way we have the capacity to do because there's two different ways of looking at it. It's stumbling into something catastrophic or doing something malicious. We have the capacity to do both.
Right.
Jeff, highlight Spooky's latest.
Spooky?
Spooky.
Oh, I see.
You can unsub from Grr Mania's boring video stream here. You can unsub from his dumpster fire stream. Investor at Jefferson God hardens hearts. Time to check your cholesterol level. Yeah, I should. All right.
I reference a fact, and let's be clear about what a fact is. It is a point of data that is either not in dispute or is indisputable.
No, I would say a fact is something that somebody putatively attributes that is the case. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. No, please do not interfere. This is just between the Atheist Reformation and myself. Okay, so I like to simplify this. Okay, a fact is what somebody is putatively attributing to it, whether or not that's the case. Okay. Whether or not it's in consensus or not. Okay. So when you invoke facts from your point of view, okay, do you positively reference the necessity of God?
Oh, here we go.
Any deity, but you do make a fundamental mistake when you're talking about atheism, which is from the Greek atheos, which the does not mean not, it actually means without. So
it's a distinction without a difference.
So
there's a little bit of a difference.
You're making a lot of assertions without references, man.
That is a distinction without a difference.
No, without is not the same as not. Those are two different words.
No, well, when it comes to God as the ultimacy of reality,
being without something isn't the same.
Whether you like it or not, it constitutes not. Okay.
You can assert that. I don't agree.
You could say that about other temporal objects.
Hold on,
when you're dealing with the ultimacy of.
That's how Darth. But see, that's what Darth just defined a fact as something you assert as being true.
Right.
He said that's what a fact was. Facts are best defined as they're propositions that we accept as comporting to real things. To real situations. That's what a fact is.
Well, and that's sort of the idea of a fact is that it's going to be something that is represented in reality and can be verified in some way.
Yep.
It's either it can either be and it has to be verified in a way beyond like just basic beyond some kind of rhetorical way.
Man who bitches about cliches uses cliche. Yes, Bridge. Yep. Good point, JL.
Yeah, he says here, propositions we can demonstrate to be consistent with observed reality. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. That's well said.
And that's one of the problems that he has with that, because there's a difference between what the fact represents and the proposition that it is. And he seems to think that, like, oh no, if I slam these two things together, then this is why people have asked him before in the past, like, wait, so the only thing that people can know is truth? You can only know what a true thing is, because that's what he's saying. Like, you can, if the only thing that you can know is a fact, and a fact is a preposition that is consistent with observed reality, which the way that Darth would try to say that, well, it's a proposition that is consistent with the revelational nature of reality, what God has revealed to us. Okay, this is going to essentially be the same thing. There's a difference between what is being revealed to us and what the thing might be. And Darth would end up making the claim either from JL's definition there that he listed there, and a theological one, and say, no, it's the same thing. Okay, so there's no mismatch then. What you see is what you get. And that's an interesting way of putting it, because there's plenty of things that we can't see that we can know to be factual. Things like gravity or the wind.
Well, maybe you can see oxygen, but yeah.
Gaseous emissions from animals after chili, whatever, there's lots of different things that, but
well, if we use special devices, I can tell you that a fart looks really weird. That's like spectrograph or whatever, when they use like the
heat vision or whatever.
And it's like, ooh.
For example, if Darth ever had an original thought, his fucking head would cave in.
JL, your animosity is showing.
Well, I mean, Darth did go after him really hard because JL was out to get him. JL's one of them stalkers.
Oh, I can believe that.
So what you're saying is JL was thirsty. Let me in, Darth. Let me in.
Invite me on.
Invite me on.
Everything stands in causal relations to that which is putatively ultimate or not, or without. So in the category of the ultimacy, it makes no difference whether you say without or not. It's a distinction without a difference.
No,
it's a distinction without a difference. Let me tell you why. Because what you would be saying would be correct if you were talking about a tree blowing in the wind, where that when you invoke the basketball in the driveway, it's without reference to the necessity.
Well, you know what it means.
Necessity of the tree. Yeah, you can do that. But the both the tree and the basketball, neither one of them.
Wait, hold on. I just had this image of it just literally conjured a cartoon of a tree blowing into the wind. Like
it's the tree causing the wind, not the other way.
Blowing in, sorry.
It's blowing on a sapling that's being bent up. It's bending.
I'm just being at this point. I'm just being pedantic, but it's fine.
Categorized as being the ultimacy of reality. So we're talking about the category of ultimacy. So when you invoke facts, it's without reference to the ultimacy of reality, correct?
Oh my God.
What the ultimacy of reality isn't an ultimate. Remember, reality is that's an abstract set.
Yeah. I'd
he
say
said
so,
that
probably.
before. It has to. It for him. There's only one thing that's absolute. That's God. That's the only ultimate thing that's possible.
I don't think he's. Yeah.
Everything else is contingent. Yeah. This is what I mean. Like this is bad philosophy, and it's shit theology. Like
it's awful theology.
Yeah, because the entailments for it philosophically are bad. Like it's beyond the whole blending of ontology and epistemology and just not really understanding how bad that is. But like the theological entailments of this, which we've already talked about, are really fucking horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And he just continues to push this stuff out. Like he's going to get somebody to the point where like, aha, now I've got you. Now you're no longer an atheist, you're a deist. Now, here's some pamphlets on JC. Take a look at this guy. Isn't he ripped? Look at his abs. Like,
but then if you say,
but he came back. Pew, pew.
But then as soon as you say, well, can you tell me about Jesus? Nope. End of discussion.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah, because he already thinks like, no, you're an atheist. You're already pissed off at Christianity. You know about Jesus. Like, well, clearly I've been told the wrong things if I've got a bad attitude. Why don't you set me straight about my misapprehension of Jesus?
Clearly, I know nothing.
But I'm pretty sure that Darth's version of Jesus is more like a Walker, Texas Ranger kind of Jesus. You know, he steps in there and he starts kicking people in the throats and shit. You know, like,
Chuck Norris Jesus.
Yeah. Don't do drugs, kids. Punch. Remember,
Norris.
Jesus loves you, and then chops a board in half.
No,
Chambers
when I invoke
is 45.
Yeah.
fact, it is with reference to reality itself.
No, I made myself very clear. You just changed the parameters of what I just said to you.
Oh my God.
Okay. When you invoke facts, is it explicitly or implicitly with reference to what is ultimate?
It doesn't matter, because if his worldview is correct, it already the fact is already doing that lifting for him. He's such a fucking moron. If God exists and all facts are contingent upon him, the fact references God automatically. It doesn't matter if a human agent decides not to mention God, or like squeezes down like, no, there is no God. Cheesecake is real.
Oppressing.
You know, and then it states a fact. White chocolate cheesecake ganache is better than the dark chocolate. Yeah, okay.
You can't say that unless you have God.
You will argue from Birds of the Divide. You will argue from my worldview, puny atheists.
Execute order 66.
I don't reference what is ultimate at all, because when
Okay,
you're
thank
referencing
you.
something, you are referencing something either hopefully in situ or in relation to where it is, and so everything is relational at that point. Even when you're
How do you
talking
know
about
that? How do you know everything's relational?
You will come to see
because we
things
see
my
things
way.
relate with
Everything would have to be relational. Everything is relational in Darth Dawkins' worldview, because everything is contingent upon a God. And he also believes that his definition of a God works better than any other theological definition of other gods, because his God is relational to itself.
Right. Yeah.
He's gone over that before, and now he's like challenging, like, how do you know it? How do you know that everything's relational? Well, we can know that just about everything is interconnected one way or the other.
Yeah. I mean,
in terms
cause
of like
and
cause,
effect.
just cause, yeah, in terms of cause and effect, and a variety of other things. So yeah, but Darth knows that everything is relational because of the creator-creature distinction.
Yeah, Snorefest.
Yeah.
No, that's begging the question.
no.
Is there something that is singularly concrete and ultimate that in
It's not begging the question if you assert that everything is relational and you don't know what makes everything relational. That's not begging the question. You haven't put that conclusion in anything. What he's trying to do is say, like, no, everything is relational. You know, God made everything, and that's why everything's relational, and therefore, because everything's relational, there's a God. That's begging the question.
Right. Yeah.
Because one of the components necessary for your little frame of your train of thought there is the thing you're trying to conclude. That's begging the question.
Yeah.
Pose.
And if it's not, please correct me in the chat.
Yeah,
Folks, if I'm getting it right.
Yeah.
At this point, do we really care?
Is the unity among the diversity of things?
Darth Dawkins has made me genuinely bored with philosophy. I don't like it.
I believe it.
Oh, that's a fallacy. Like, yeah, whatever. Just eat another tablespoon of peanut butter. Like, I've just given up. Like, oh.
Yeah. So that's another thing. So, like, if we say, okay, the Earth revolves around the sun, that's a fact. And because
How do you know that?
I don't believe in God, it can't be a fact. Or if there is no God, that can't be a fact. I just don't get this whole, if there's no God, there's no truth.
Well, to go back to what we were talking about, he's lost the ontology of what he's talking. He's conflating epistemology and ontology. You don't have to know something for it to be actual, but he's saying you have to know something for it to be actual at the same time. He's a fucking idiot.
Yeah, it's like pretty much equivocating at this point.
Yeah.
Not anything that has been demonstrated in any verifiable way.
Okay, well then your claim that there is unity among diversity, as the way that you expressed it, is that there are relationships between things. In order for there to be relationships or correlatedness between things, that is an expression of some type of unity among diversity. But you don't have anything that is singular, concrete, and ultimate, that is identifiable.
I think he's using those. I don't know what he's talking about. As though
everything would be. I mean, everything could easily be defined in terms of like relational. You could just define them, with some kind of fundamental building block, like atoms.
Well, I was going to say, like, everything is, as far as we know, resides in space-time. So in a way, that's connected right there.
Well, I mean, I did the same thing with praise a while back, where they thought it would be funny to ask me if I was related to a strawberry, and I said what? And I said, well, to you guys, yes, I am related to a strawberry, and they started laughing. I'm like, is everything in your mind recreated by God? Do you believe everything in this everything is created by God? Well, yeah. Then yes, we're all related.
Oh, right. I see your point. Yeah.
Because we're all related by being creation.
Well, and in that sense, you're actually like you can make the Christian worldview. You're related to a bicycle, because that's just kind of 1 degree separated from like the life that God created versus, the tools and toys that we make. But all that stuff is only possible through God, the mind of God.
And yes, I'll say, oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
JL says, one of the last times I spoke with them, I referred to reality as my ultimate and said it was sufficient for grounding truth and possibility. He got so fucking mad. Yeah, I bet he did.
Oh, he hates
that's the problem with him, because if you try to say like, no, I'm I justify a lot of this stuff based on empiricism, he'll just try to say, well, empiricism's not enough. Like, cool. It is enough for sufficient grounding, though.
Right. It's enough for sufficient reason.
That's why I'm justifying it. There are problems with empiricism, but you asked me to ground it, or you asked me to give a justification for why I don't think there's a God. You could do it from a rationalist perspective, where you haven't heard a rational argument for God that would allow you to kind of assent to the idea that it exists. Or you can do it from an empirical side, where you're like, I haven't seen evidence sufficient to convince me that that thing is actually real. Both of those are justifications for saying that's justification for your belief in the non-existence of that God. What they'll try to do is say, well, here's the problem with that. This aspect of rationalism doesn't work because, and then they'll try to assume that presup trumps rationalism, even though the way that these guys end up using philosophy is essentially trying to convince everybody of the existence of a God only through the means of rationalism. If you bring up empiricism, they'll mention Hume and the problem of induction and then act like empiricism needs to be completely discarded. And it's like, that's fine if you think that there's problems with empiricism, but you asked for justification and I just gave you one. Right. It's one thing to acknowledge that empiricism has problems. It's another thing entirely to conclude that it's not sufficient for justifying a belief. It is sufficient for justifying beliefs. Right. We use it to justify all kinds of beliefs.
Right.
And Christians would love it if they could use empiricism to justify the existence of God.
Oh,
it just doesn't happen to work out.
That's their wet dream. That'll never come to fruition.
It's just not going to work. And as soon as you use it, if empiricism could be used to justify your existence in God, you could demonstrate God in an empirical way. He would become as interesting as the sun. It would become that mundane. Before that golden orb was something worth worshiping. And now that we know we're just a planet, spiraling around the thing, now that it's a star in the sky and we just benefit from our proximity to its heat and energy, okay, now it's mundane.
Right. Yeah. JL wrote, there's nothing to justify the acceptance of an additional layer of ontology that cannot be demonstrated to exist. Yeah. He's and it's basically what's that? It's kind of in a way going against Occam's razor.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just kind of needlessly multiplying an identity, which 3 years ago was what Atheist Reformation said. All you're doing is asserting the addition of a deity.
Mm-hmm.
And Darth Dawkins insisted that that's not what he was doing, because what he wants to do is he wants to reverse it and be like, no, that insistence is necessary for the existence of anything. That doesn't follow epistemologically, because that's not how you think. assuming something from the jump, the only thing that you can assume is your own subjective experience. Everyone does.
Right.
Everything else is a negotiation between different agents trying to make sure that we're tracking reality somewhat consistently. I mean, all you have to do is bring up color blindness in individuals to start poking holes in this stuff.
Yeah, because once you realize, or once a person realizes, their consciousness, their conscious, everything else after that is more probabilistic. Is probably how I'd say it.
He can't quit us.
Yeah.
We are
Unity among
we are his
diversity.
necessary
Do you?
boogeyman.
We have not demonstrated a need or necessity for such a thing.
Okay, that's not an answer to my question. Do you have something that is singular, concrete, that is
Say no.
characteristically ultimate,
Say
that
no.
imposes, unity among the diversity of things?
Say no.
Yeah. The interesting thing about this, like, what you're talking about is
That goes to-
he's defining a necessary being into existence.
But see how he's done this again? He's moved. He keeps going back and forth here. He's gone from the propositions. Now he's going to the person's mental state.
Right.
He's done it again. He cannot keep that in check. Great. You've given me a claim. Now the question is whether or not I believe that claim to be true. That goes to my mental state. Now you're asking me how I justify making certain claims. Now you're insisting that there must be a singular thing by which I do that with, or do that by. I would just say no. I would just say no for the sake of the conversation and see where it goes. Don't say reality. Don't say reality. Don't say ultimacy. Don't say reality or anything. Just say no. I don't. I use a lot of different things.
Yeah, and I'll just say, oh well, then it's game over for you, atheist.
Yeah, checkmate.
Checkmate. You don't have anything that grounds anything. Like, that doesn't make sense.
No, I'd like a straight answer instead of a
That
dodge.
is a straight answer.
No, it is not a straight answer.
Can I quickly interject?
No,
here
no,
to
you may
announce something on
not.
the
Okay,
Get
I'm
outta
asking
here.
you.
Shut
Get
up,
outta here.
Corey. Nobody fucking likes you, Corey. Get the fuck out of here. We hate you. We hate your avatar. Get your fucking ass out of here.
Your mom should have swallowed, Corey.
Damn, that got harsh quick, didn't it? We're worse than Darth Dawkins.
A very simple question.
Well,
Send a DM.
Sympathy for Corey.
Just
One of the server
Send a
staff.
DM to one of the mods here. Please don't
We're having
interfere.
a
Please
fun,
don't interfere.
let's
Please
read
don't
on
interfere.
tomorrow.
Okay. Please don't interfere. Okay.
Corey got pimp
Now.
slapped.
Okay, your position is that there is, and this is a little bit change of subject, but we can go back to the main subject that you're claiming to suspend judgment. You're claiming that there is a relatedness between two or more discrete particulars. Is that correct?
What'd he
Give
say?
me an example of
What'd he
what you're
say?
referring to when you talk about a discrete particular.
A discrete particular is one that has identity within a time index. Okay. And
Is
that
identity innate?
we can properly
So a piece of cheesecake? Would that be sufficient? Why doesn't he just give it? I love it. I want a straightforward answer. And then when somebody asks him to clarify his definition, well, I want something that's that has identity in a particular time context. Like, can you give me a more specific example? You doddering douchebag. Like, are you talking about an apple on a table? Are you talking about a dog in a yard?
Yeah. What is the? Well, I'm just talking about like a dog in a yard. But what kind of dog? Oh, for fuck's sake!
Talking about a Cavalier King Charles Spaniard or one of those Tibetan Mastiffs. Those things are
a Chihuahua.
God damn it! It's a beagle. A beagle? Really? You basic bitch.
I can tell you right now, the identity. There is a distinct identity between. There is a distinct difference between the identity when it comes to a zit and a boil.
And it turns out it wasn't a dichotomy because it was actually a gummy bear. Thank you, Simpsons.
situation that it is discrete, it is separate, it is distinct from something else.
So, for instance, say a shell and a creature living within said shell.
Okay. Yeah, there might be a conjunction between them that we might agree to, but they would still be discrete, but there would be some type of imposed connectedness. So if we conceive of a reality of the set of all real discrete things, either there is actual unity among the diversity of things or not.
So has physics never been a topic that he's ever discussed?
I don't think so.
Does he not know what atoms and molecules and things of that nature are? Like, this is really fascinating to me, because I really kind of wonder, like no, there is a magical being upon which all things are contingent, and his mind just makes things because of that, like, divine conceptualism from this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Making everything thus and so, and operating it, continuing to operate it the way that it is. That's what makes things work, not something that's like spurred into motion. Like, so all of these, so every time you have a relative that develops cancer, that was God's divine idea, right? It had to be. It had to be that kid that got leukemia at the age of 4 was God. That was God's idea. Childhood cancer. I mean, these are all emotional ones. But then that you could just go to, like, in sort of natural evils. You can just go to moral evils too.
Mm-hmm.
That guy that developed a taste for human faces, also God's idea.
Right.
Wait a minute. I missed something here. There's Lucky 7 Wolfram wrote, it's part of the quote unquote try not to look as dumb as I actually am strategy, Rebecca. My dating strategy is driven more by things the court has forbidden me to say in public.
You said that there is a relatedness between things, which is another way of saying that there is some unity among diversity. Okay.
Not okay.
Now, is there something that is fundamental?
Hold on. Time out for a second. Does he think that, like, dog is dog? Like, you could not use any other, like, the word dog is innate to a dog? Like, that word came about when the dog was created?
I don't know. I don't know. I've never really understood this with him, or with anybody that tries to get into this unity of diversity and their kind of wacky takes on this, because they'll try to, like, well, it solves the problem of the one and the many. Like, how? And then they make a hard-boiled egg, and they're like, there's an egg shell, and then the egg white, and then the egg yolk. It's like the Trinity. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I here are my fingers. They curl up into a fist, and they greet your face. You know, like, I mean, like,
therefore God.
Like, Jesus made me do that, buddy.
This concrete as opposed to abstract that is ultimate and can impose and secure unity among diversity.
So that's actually a flawed question, and I'll tell you why. One,
this is going to be good.
You're saying can impose upon, so you're implying
Interrupted in 5.
Naked. Well, through your
3,
question, that
2,
whatever I'm going
1.
to appeal to
I lost.
has agency, has its own agency.
No, I didn't say agency. I left that out. I said, is there something that imposes?
That's entailed from the theological worldview, that it's imposing it in some. If he's trying to say, because normally what he'll do is, like, if somebody tries to say, well, the only thing that really imposes any kind of, that we think might impose any kind of regularity on the world the universe that we live in, might be some kind of, like, quantum field theory, or a theory of certain theories about matter and their interactivity, and that would impose these kinds of, you know, or even certain theories about, I think, gravitation. But that would impose it in the sense that it creates boundaries for it. That would be agency free. If he doesn't want that kind of, like, carved in there, you know, or somebody thinking, like, wait, by imposed, do you mean, like, you know, like, somebody's like, there's an intention behind it. Somebody's insisting this is how it should be. Because even if you could make the connection that, like, there's one foundational fundamental force that sort of kind of corrals everything in terms of space and time. When you say that it imposes, I don't know that it is saying that it, quote, imposes order would make sense.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
even if you could see like from like a real macro view of it and be like, oh yeah, there is some order to all this because this holds this together, and however you want to think about it in terms of time and space. But it's like, okay, but it's not imposing order in the sense that he's sort of like, kind of injecting into the conversation where
Mhm.
there needs to be a mind, and he believes that if he's going to try to avoid that, that's part of the worldview. It is the ultimate thing has to be a mind that imposes this regularity. It's coming from something with agency.
Right.
Real quick, Christopher wrote, naming the animals within the garden was Adam's job. And then another job Adam had was tending to the fields, farming. And I wrote, the interesting thing is when the Bible states that God was trying to hook Adam up with one of those animals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't been able to find him an effective. Yeah, like how many animals did he have to cornhole before he realized like this just isn't working out? Can you give me something like weird?
It's actually in the story. He's like, oh, but Adam couldn't find a suitable mate, so God put him to sleep, took out a rib, and functioned from and from that formed a woman.
I've never thought about that. That's
the
pretty
suitable
crazy.
mate. The suitable mate was Adam trying to pick from one of the other animals in the garden.
Adam was like, "Hey, God, these dogs and sheep, they ain't cutting it."
I really don't like that noise when we're getting down. This is a sick sound.
He even tried to cornhole a whale.
That's why the snake. That's come to find out. That's the context of the snake deceiving Eve.
Christian logic.
He got jealous. He was like,
no,
hey.
he probably made her jealous because he was like, do you know what he was getting up to before you shut up?
Here are the DMs.
Like, let's keep this in context. Yahweh, before you came along, Adam was having an orgy in this place, and now now Yahweh has the gall to tell you can't have a piece of fruit.
Hey, why do you think we call it a sperm whale? Eve?
Oh.
One of Adam's favorites.
Dirty bugger. It was the first cream pie porno.
No, it's just that Adam blasts the thickest, longest ropes whenever he's looking at a sperm whale.
Oh. Rivers of jism.
Oh, this is getting demonetized. All right.
Yep.
Unity among diversity.
Yes.
Unity.
To impose.
What does that?
To impose something as a conscious action that implies agency.
No, sir, you're not understanding.
Sir,
no,
I'm talking about a causal. Listen to me. Stop changing. You are a bullshitter. Okay. It does not necessarily imposing has to do with causal relations, not necessarily with the moderators.
That's kind of a dumb, because if you go to Oxford Languages and take a look at it, impose has two definitions: to force something unwelcome or unfamiliar to be accepted or put in place,
like what Adam tried to do with the snake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the snake's like, I'm gonna get your bitch eviled. I'm gonna tell her this fruit is the best. To take advantage of someone by demanding their attention or commitment. Now, obviously, words can have different meanings, but I don't understand. I don't think that there's some kind of philosophical definition for the word impose that he's using here.
Eat this here apple, you dirty sheep fucker. Go watch. You better watch that dick off.
She takes a bite out of the apple, and it says that he was with her, and she's like, here, put this in your cocksucker, and he spits the rooster out of his mouth. That he's all right.
She was like, Adam, I made you an apple pie.
He immediately puts his penis in it. Thanks, Eve.
This is great. I didn't realize we were naked before.
Like, oh my God. Yeah. And as soon as it comes over him, he's like, I fucked a whale.
I can't believe I did that.
I can't believe it. I had sex with all these animals.
I was lonely, Eve.
Yeah.
Came to me blowhole. There's a reason why I called it the blowhole.
Definitely getting demonetized.
Please stop this guy from disrupting.
Talking
Okay?
about
With the moderators, please stop this man from disrupting. Thank you. Okay,
I
so
would
saying
like-
that there's a, please stop
Hey, one
disrupting.
second.
At this
One second.
at this point,
Corey,
is there any...
okay, Corey is a,
Oh, shut the fuck up, Sparrow. I don't. Sorry, that was mean. I don't even know who Sparrow is. So shut the fuck up. I just find it funny. We're sitting here and we're just basically riffing on, riffing on this guy, and I know that it seems that what I don't get is the what is it, Atheist Revolution, or what's his name? What's he go by?
The Atheist Reformation.
Atheist Reformation. He seems to want to have this serious conversation with Darth Dawkins. It seems that neither of them remember the 4-hour conversation that they had that went nowhere.
Right.
And now
No, that's
this
a good
conversation is going nowhere. It's basically Darth Dawkins is trying to, he's not having a conversation with him. He's trying to school him.
Yeah. Well, that's that. I mean, that's normal. But I'm wondering why she's interjecting. Let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
a stage manager who just wants to throw out something.
Yeah, he's
real quick.
constantly interrupting.
He's also a stage manager, so it's
What I
don't
wanted
care.
to announce was first I wanted to say, everybody, let's chill out. This goes for everybody. And second, I wanted to say,
Shut up, Corey.
the next.
It's interesting though now that Atheist Reformation's that now it's like Corey is the stage manager. Now Darth is kind of behaving.
Yeah.
Like he's not automatically now that some authority has been identified and pointed out, now he's like, oh god.
But is there unity to the identity? That's the real
It's the
question.
hard-hitting
Will
question.
be a Let's Read, where we will be reading through some of the threads on the server. I hope you will join us tomorrow for that.
Sounds
Anyway, you two.
I bet those threads are absolutely poisonous.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know if there's a scale that can detect like MAGA chud like levels, but I bet it would break the needle if look at the threads I'm following this.
If you think
Darth
anything,
incels.
if you think anything we've said is bad, I want you to read JL's latest.
Oh god. Adam's used to his lovers eating nothing but grass. Bitch ate the
Oh my
apple.
God.
She needed some damn nourishment.
She needed some vitamin C.
She was getting scurvy.
Why
What's wrong
can't
with you?
Yeah, he's just standing there confused. I don't understand why you can't just graze like everything else. Because I'm a human, you idiot.
I can't eat this grass that God made.
You'll eat it and you'll like it. And then you realize Adam's real kink, grass stuffing.
They didn't have ranch back then, so the grass was not too good.
No, that's where the sperm whale came in handy.
Adam's just like, oh, okay, Yahweh, it's really cool that you made a woman. It's awesome. Human, female. I needed that. Can you send some salad dressing down here because it's getting really dry and floss. I need you to invent that super quick.
The worst thing is when God made Eve for Adam, he actually had to give an instruction manual. This hole, not that hole.
Right. That came later, ironically.
I know you're used to sticking it in that hole. Stick it in this hole.
It's an interesting thing, given that like he had his time with the animals, and God's just like, okay, I've made a human female for you. You'll figure it out. Like, will he? Will he? No, I mean, I guess he will. Like, he's got a body count on him, and he's like, yeah. Adam getting more.
Well, the interesting thing is that in some of the translations, it refers to I think it refers to not finding a suitable mate, and then other translations it's not finding a suitable helper.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
they tried to. Yeah. It's like, oh well, none of these animals can like, and that seems kind of like, but it depends because that's the second one.
Jesus, Jefferson Spatchcock, he used her for plowing 2 ways.
Okay, thank you, Corey.
Okay, so what I said was not a malformed question. That's a typical tactic that a BSer like yourself does. Okay, when I say impose, I mean what makes something that is or can be or cannot be real. Okay, it can be an agent, it can be a non-agent. It makes no difference. So what you just said is.
But what made the agent real? What is he talking about?
Yeah, but it does make a difference because it's impossible for a non-agent to do that.
And if he's saying that it doesn't have to have agency, then why would he think God does?
Right.
Now
Now you could just change the absolute doesn't need to be a disembodied mind because it doesn't necessarily need to have thoughts. It just,
exactly.
God made the animals mute so they couldn't testify against Adam.
Darth just shot himself in the foot by saying that.
Yeah. This is kind of. I'm wondering where he's going to go with this. I mean, we've only got a few more minutes here, so.
Thank
It's an
God.
absolute and complete. Yeah, what you just said is an
2 hours
absolute
later.
and complete utter non sequitur. Now, I want to know what it is that makes the causal principle, or excuse me, the principle of unity among diversity real. What makes it real?
What is he?
Yeah, again,
What?
the unity that whole philosophical topic is not like an established fact, like say, like the law of like the theory of evolution or something. I don't understand what he's doing with this. I've never understood it when apologists do this kind of stuff. Well, what makes that a thing? Like, what are you talking about? It's something that, like, I don't know that that's actually settled. It's one of those debatable things.
Well, therefore God.
Oh, okay.
That's how it works. I'll be right back. Just 2 seconds. Go ahead.
That's a total non sequitur, Grr.
Total non sequitur.
I don't know, and that's an honest answer.
Oh, okay. So
do we want to wait for Grr to come back?
Yeah, let's give him.
Nothing unreal exists. Glucker X. Oh wow! Just wow. Has there not been any better videos of Darth come out lately? Is this the only one? Because this just
yeah.
This is worse than the Noah one. The one where he was talking about the
John Fapiano, who's in the chat, was actually telling me that Clubhouse has been really dead, and that he kind of has this impression that it looks like people are just ignoring Darth over there. Like Darth really can't like pull any viewers in. So I don't know if anybody's like kind of keeping an eye on him over there or what. I don't know. I don't even know if Darth is really spending any time on Clubhouse, because normally that'll be the case. If he feels like he can't get enough attention, if he can't engage in those conversations, he'll go from Clubhouse back to Discord. And this is, well, they dropped this on the 25th, which was last week. So I don't know. And Tom Rabbitt's usually pretty quick about catching these.
Oh, that reminds me. Happy birthday, Mom.
Oh, yes, it is our mother's birthday. But she's not watching this. She doesn't watch
No, I know.
I hope she's not watching this after all the comments made here.
I'm trying to be really cheap by saving on a gift card.
I'll let her know that you wished her a happy birthday on my YouTube channel, and she'll just roll her eyes and be like, "Is he sending me anything?" No.
She's probably gonna say it wasn't one of those Darth Dawkins streams again, was it? Yes, Mom, it was. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was. She JL writes, for something different, pull up the Answers in Genesis Evolution vid to see some real straw grasping.
That
Canada Evolution vid. Ugh. Lucky Wolf. Better videos of Darth. What the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was
that's kind of
bad choice of word. Bad choice of words.
Russ said Darth may have everyone on Clubhouse on his troll list, but I think I mentioned this in a video that I did a month or so ago, where I was like, look, Darth, I made this prediction. I'm like, it could actually happen that Darth ends up blocking so many people on Clubhouse that he paints himself into a corner, because unlike Discord, where he blows people out of a server and then he just goes to another server, with Clubhouse it's just all over. He'd have to go back and unblock these people in order to start engaging again. And I think like he's gotten to a point where he's blocked so many people that he doesn't really know. He doesn't get notifications for what's going on, and nobody can get into the rooms when he's around. Because the way Clubhouse works, if they're blocked and he's there first, you just you might get the notification, but you can't get in. I think he might be in that spot.
It seems like he's gonna have to circle back to YouTube at this point, given that.
If they'll let him back.
I don't know. Because he does seem to crave like a direct interaction. Like he doesn't do YouTube.
He's thirsty.
Yeah, he doesn't do YouTube where he presents his ideas and puts it out there and maybe has a guest on or something like that. he wants to argue with somebody. He wants to bicker at somebody. And the only way he can get that is on something like Discord or Clubhouse.
If I could actually have like a moderated conversation with him, all I'd want to talk about is some of his theological points of view.
Well, you already shut it down when you said unmoderated.
Oh yeah. Well,
even if
it's moderated, this is the thing. He will just bitch at the moderator. At least that's what I've seen.
Oh, you mean like he did with James from Modern Day Debate?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I think that's where I saw it.
Yeah, he'll just drag. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter even if it's something like an established channel like Modern Day Debate. If he doesn't think he's getting fair treatment, not only will he throw a fit right there on the show, he'll then do everything that he can to drag the moderator, host, owner, drag their name through the dirt, forever, just to get other people to like, which doesn't do anything. Nobody cares. Right. You compare like the people that watch. I mean, I think comparable numbers would be the people that are subscribed to Modern Day Debate and the people that actively block Darth Dawkins. Those are probably the same number.
He does seem to have an extreme form of like adopting like his own form of cancel culture in a way.
Yeah,
right.
JL says on Clubhouse, it's a new form of porn. Darth Block AK.
Yeah.
Double D's.
Let's see where he goes with this.
To be fair, James did giggle like a schoolgirl. Yes, he did. It's so funny, and he got so mad. You could I think you could actually hear the steam coming out of Darth's ears because he's Darth. He's just giggling. You piece of shit.
Giggled like a schoolgirl.
Actually, you do.
No,
and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to explain. I'm going to explain to you. Hey, listen. Just because you have the gift of gab and you know how to be argumentative does not make a good debater for you. You just end up making yourself silly. I'm going to explain to you.
He's almost there.
Do. The silly one. Either now.
Oh, yeah, Shannon.
Do you believe that facts are framework dependent?
I believe that facts are.
They're reality dependent.
Either not.
Framework. What if it's a proposition and it should conform with observable reality, something observable in reality, then it's only contextually dependent on that thing in observable reality.
Yeah, and it's also dependent on minds making those propositions. But if there were no minds around, wow, dude.
Given what he's saying though, in terms of framework, what he's talking about is an epistemological framework. He's talking about a worldview. It's just a different way of saying worldview.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
I see.
Not in dispute or indisputable.
That's not an answer to my question. That's an example of you giving an answer to a question I didn't ask. Okay, you just dodged my question.
No, I gave you an answer.
Okay, I'm gonna listen. I'm really gonna cut off the conversation with you if you continue to persist in dodging my questions. Okay. I didn't ask you about a variety. I didn't ask you about something not being in dispute. Okay. What you see, the mistake that you're making is you're making a central characteristic of facts consensus. And that's simply not the case because
he didn't. He didn't say anything about consensus.
Yeah.
This is weird.
Because what a consensus or a plurality of a majority of people considered to be a fact can be overturned by a new observation or a paradigm shift. Okay, so what I'm saying to you is this:
this would be the equivalent of like it is a fact that a fox is a dog. And let's use this as an example. A fox is a dog, and that was a fact for say 200 years, for millennia, and then people start doing genetic testing, and now it's a fact that a fox is more like a cat. So what?
Right.
Like I don't understand like how this does revising truth matter at all to Darth? The fact that something can be revised, I guess that must be like that must be sin. That's the devil.
I guess because then it's not ultimate truth, absolute, all times, all places.
A dog is a dog unless it's a hyena, and then it's not quite that.
You're deliberately not answering my question. I didn't ask you for what the definition of fact was, did I?
Fine, give me a definition of framework.
Did I ask you for the definition of a fact?
Give me a definition of framework.
Did I ask you for a
Oh my
definition of a fact?
God.
I gave you an answer based on the question.
Did I ask you for a definition of a fact?
Based on your word salad of a question, couldn't quite tell.
Okay, yeah, you're bullshitting. You're lying. See, this is what you have in your little bag of tricks, where you twist and you lie about what says. I asked you a question, did I not?
You asked.
It sometimes gets kind of hard to know when Darth is asking you a question that he wants a direct answer to, and whether or not he's just posing it rhetorically.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like, no, that was a rhetorical question. I was just for the purposes of my sermon. Like, oh,
Every question he asks sounds rhetorical, just in the way that he delivers it.
yeah, they all did, because you could just kind of, and I've seen that before in other videos too, or somebody he'll do that, and somebody's just sort of like dozing off, like, oh, I asked you a question. What?
Answer me.
Like, I'm sorry, I was hang on,
Where's the rebel base?
I just need to. I'm going to mix some of this, some of this gunpowder, meth, cocaine, and espresso into a line. Snort that so that I can stay awake during your interrogation, because this is killing me.
A series of words.
Did I ask you a question?
You asked a series of words within a framework.
Did I ask you a question?
You asked.
Why is he harping on this point?
Good.
I don't know.
What was the question that I asked you?
Which
At
time?
this point, there were so many flipping words in it that I don't remember.
No, there wasn't. That's another lie, or you have memory failings. I will repeat to you the question that you so conveniently denied, and then when I pointed out that you were dodging and giving me an answer to something that I didn't ask. So let's see if you dodge again, okay? Because I have to give you credit. You're well practiced. Sparrow.
He's not. Actually, people that are well practiced at rhetorical dodging would not do this. Like, this is the. I mean, if Darth thinks that this guy is good at like dodging in a conversation, he's just
delusional.
He's really remarkably dumb. This is not good dodging.
Bro,
good dodging is like what Hitchens does. Hitchens was like, he was a master at dodging, because he would, like, somebody would ask him a question, he'd like pivot to something else and then throw out something that would get like a laugh from the audience. And it's like, that is completely manipulative. Yet I'm clapping. Like, good job. But holy shit. Yeah, it's like that. Yeah, that was completely dishonest.
We already discussed Mr. Batman. Can you please remove him? Let's Farm. Can you please remove Mr. Batman?
What?
He was one of the individuals I mentioned earlier.
Everybody stop, or I'll mute y'all.
Mute y'all.
I am going to tell you right now that this is the Just Chatting channel. It is in our social channels here, Darth.
Yeah.
This guy sounds like his breakfast is like a bowl of screws instead of cereal, and then whiskey instead of milk. Like, and then he just like, and that's after he's had like a half a pack of Newports. It's like, hey,
instead of a drizzle of honey, it's oil. Motor oil.
He was one of the people I mentioned.
Let me finish, please. Let me finish, please. We have something here called Create Your Own VC. I highly
went over that with me.
Hold on a moment, please, because you do not own this channel.
I never claimed to.
Let alone the server. But
maybe stop acting like you do, Darth. I think that was his point. He didn't say that you claimed it. He said you should stop acting like it.
You told me you were going to sequester the stalkers.
I'm going to make it easy on you, please. If you go to the Create Your Own VC and make your own channel, you can boot them out yourself. You can mute them. You can kick them. Feel free. This is our Just Chatting channel. Everyone is welcome here.
Okay, so now you're lying to me. You
No,
promised me
no,
a
no,
long.
I fixed it
Hold on a
for you.
second.
I
If you're
fixed
going to
it for
lie
you.
to me, I will
I
just
will-
leave the server and I will
Go
delete
right
it.
ahead.
You
Go
told
right-
me.
Pinworm, do you think Let's Farm is Nephilim? I mean, I don't think that that's the same guy. Maybe it is.
He's got a really distinctive voice, Nephilim.
Yeah, because Nephilim's voice is a little bit whinier. Although, to be fair, most of the times that I've heard Nephilim listen to him or talked with him, he's been really drunk. So maybe this is Nephilim sober. I don't know.
Nephilim has a voice that reminds me of Herbert the Pervert if it was a lowered voice.
Yeah,
it's almost like, well, I probably shouldn't say this, but when he talks, it makes me think of somebody who doesn't have their dentures in their mouth.
Yeah, it does kind of like he's talking around some ill-fitting ones. Although every once in a while, Dawkins will be like chewing on something. Like, I don't know if he's eating like a candy bar or something, but he's got that like, that dry mouth chewing effect going on. You just kind of want to smack him. Like, I don't know what it is about that, but when I hear that kind of shit, like, oh God, shut up. I just want to,
You're right.
I'll slap the dentures out your face.
You and the other founders told me that if I gave you a short list of who Mr. Batman, you can ban me if you want, but now you're backpedaling on your commitment to me earlier. Okay?
Did you marry this guy or what? Please stop talking about commitment and everything. I guess.
Put a ring on it, baby.
This is what they do.
Oh, that didn't take long. Well, at least you didn't get the swearing routine he usually does.
Well, I have a server.
Dawkins, you mean?
Oh yeah,
there he is.
There he is.
Nephilim. Yeah.
He just exploded in here.
Oh well, that's his personnel.
Oh, I've seen it before. I was,
I don't think you should be doing Christian apologetics with the personality he possesses.
You think?
Repent and perish, boys and girls. Repent and believe the gospel. Remember, Jesus loves you. Have a happy Hanukkah.
But he'll burn you to death if you don't love him back. If Tom Rabbittt could move some of his videos out of the way of the text,
Yeah, I wish I
good.
could. Yeah, that's just YouTube doing that. That sucks. I think he needs to take a long break from the internet and go touch grass, as they say. Screw boss and childish and all conversations. All right, yeah. Well, that's it for that. Okay, we'll stop it there. Chore done. Darth Dawkins video covered.
That was
Never
more
thought I'd do
exhausting.
this.
You
That
what?
was more.
No, go ahead, Jake. Go ahead.
Oh, that was more exhausting than driving through continental United States.
Yeah.
What I was trying to say was, I never thought I'd sit through a Darth Dawkins video and review one, but here I am.
Yeah, and I blame myself. I'm sorry, but yeah, when you wake up in the middle of the night in a pool of sweat, you can just blame me. Oh, Darth Dawkins.
I'm gonna wake up and say, "How do I ground the ultimate reality of everything in all existence and all contingent facts?"
Yeah, just email me. I have come undone.
I have DD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. That was fun, though. That was fun.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I think I'm going to end it here because we've been on long enough. But yeah, that's it for that one. And I will be back to cover another video as soon as I can. Like I said, I'm in the middle of moving. So, and like I've got internet here because it's sort of like just the base one that kind of comes with the building now. I actually had two sources of internet, the stuff that I paid for and the stuff that my landlord installed about a month ago. So I'm able to use. Yeah, so I'm able to use that now, but I had to transfer all my other stuff, so it's in limbo. So my new place is not wired yet. But yeah, so I don't know when I'm going to be doing another one, but this week I'm going to be in and out of like multiple places. So it's.
Do you think you'll
Quit
be back?
making
Like 2 weeks. Oh, sorry.
No, I mean I'll probably end up coming in to do like weird ones. Like I might do a 4th of July one if I'm around and have the time.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Xerxes isn't an atheist anymore. What the fuck? Okay.
Oh,
What?
He's trying to verify.
yeah. He said, "Holy shit, holy shit." Trying to verify, but just heard Xerxes isn't an atheist anymore. Well,
He
yeah, I don't.
He tried to ground everything. He couldn't come up with a sufficient answer, and he went, God.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what he would have gotten. What he would have converted to, unless he's just sort of like the cultural. I mean, a lot of his political takes are completely in line with like Christian nationalists. So
yeah,
like the dude is a heavy duty transphobe.
Yeah. And that might be another video you should cover at some point, Jeff.
Yeah, I do want to cover that one because I know Peter's got it on his channel, so I'm gonna cover that conversation between him and Pine Creek because that goes over just some really like a lot of like kind of conservative like right wing misinformation,
like Matt Walsh level.
Yeah, and it's just bad. There's a lot there. By the way, let me know, Grr, if you ever want to cover one of those together. Let me know. We can like kind of schedule something in advance because I know you usually go after like the Misha Petrov types and stuff like that.
Yes. How'd you hear about her?
Yeah, how did I hear about her?
Yeah, it was because I was leaning towards doing a political stream today, but then I thought, well, that Darth Dawkins video, I feel like there's a lot of fun to be had there because I skimmed through it just to get a feel.
Yeah,
and I don't think we made the wrong decision, but I don't think we made the great decision either. It's not wrong, but it's not great.
Oh,
Well, it's amazing.
Misha Petrov just dropped a new video about her. She's reacting very positively to the Supreme Court decision about affirmative action. And I don't have from what I've seen, the analysis, like I've got kind of mixed views on affirmative action because I'm largely in support of it. But there were some colleges that had really weird quota systems set up that I did not agree with. But I mean, just sort of on a basic level, like I didn't think the idea of taking into account race or background or any of those kinds of things was a big deal. But she's like, oh yeah, it should just all be a meritocracy, and it's like, yeah, about that. Like, yeah, merit works a little bit differently for different people in this country.
Yeah, for sure. Pine Creek's always putting out some really wacky political takes. So that's always.
Oh, John Fabiano on Discord. He has scripture in his bio. I'm waiting to hear back from him. Well, didn't he go to seminary? Wasn't he like? Wasn't that kind of like one of the reasons he got away from religion was because he was? I think he was seminary doing some kind of theological studies.
It might be. Yeah, I can't remember entirely what his background is. Yeah, he was well read in terms of the Bible. Like he knew, he had he knew his verses and shit. So wherever he did his schooling, he had some he might have had a more a kind of more fundamentalist kind of homeschool style curriculum than even you and I did, Jay, because we had that ACE Becca combo over the years.
Mm-hmm. Burn those Roman Catholics.
It sounds like he had a similar experience that Bart Ehrman did, going to seminary, learning stuff that you didn't know about, and then saying, "There's no way this can be true." But I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, if he has converted. I don't know. I almost kind of those ones I always kind of wonder about because it's like if you were an atheist, I can understand not giving a shit about atheism, as either an identity or a cause, because that's kind of where I am.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter to me. Well, do you if I'm talking to Darth, well, do you describe yourself as an atheist? No, I describe myself as Jeff.
Just
atheist doesn't really even come up. I don't care. That's something that kind of probably fits as a description of what I think about deities.
Right.
But that's not all that I am. And then when they're like, oh well, but don't you no, I don't care about. What I do care about are fundamentalists from any religion trying to say that they've got some kind of justification in telling a bunch of other people to do things that are either disagreeable or just fucking horrendous, for no real reason. Right. It's like they've completely lost track of what it means to live in a secular society where, it's as a citizen, you get to do this in your own religious circles. You can do these things. You don't get to impose these religious things onto other people outside of your secular separation. That's different. You're a citizen
Right.
and treat other citizens as citizens. You don't have to like them or love them or understand what they're doing or going through, but you stay in your fucking lane,
At the end of the day, that's what it boils down to. Just stay in your lane and you won't get any criticism. But they just don't stay in their lane. Well, a lot of them don't. Maybe not all.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jeff, I do appreciate the invite. Jay, it was all right to see you, Jay.
Fuck you too, Grr.
Yeah, Jail's last one. He says he came on my channel and literally debunked the whole martyrs legends. Yeah, that'd be the thing. Like I could understand. Like he could be like he might end up being like an open theist kind of Christian, where because I think even like Dan McClellan, he's a Mormon. I don't know that I think he believes in God.
Yeah, I think he's Mormon.
But he's very critical of like most any fundamentalist religious take, in any group. So. But yeah, thanks, Grr, for coming on. Thanks, Jay. I will talk to. We'll see everybody later. Hopefully, everybody has a good rest of their night, and then whatever your feelings are about American Independence Day, hopefully you have a good one and don't get burnt or too drunk or
don't set your state on fire, please.
Yeah, don't start a fire. Don't get blown up. Try to make sure that by July 5th you still have 10 fingers.
Just use sparklers. Don't use anything else.
I don't know. You can burn your fingers pretty good on the ends of those too.
Everybody, what I dare you to do is, no, I won't say it. It'll get the channel flag.
But yeah, with that, I'm gonna play our theme here. Take care, everybody, and we will see you all later.